What is up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Welcome to another episode of the Black Line Brief. I'm your host, Matthew McKim. I got a pretty good show lined up for you guys today. Got some new clips for us to look at. And we're going to discuss who we really think is involved in this. To what degree are they involved? What roles could they have played? And as long as everyone just respects the community guidelines, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to be at different parts in where we think certain people fit in this whole thing. Like some people believe Erica is complicit from the start and some and others don't. And that's fine. Just be respectful, disagree respectfully, and then we can all get along and enjoy the community together. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to do a couple administrative things first. As you come in, please hit the like and hit the subscribe. It's the best way to help the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you. Also, we got to let YouTube we got to let YouTube know we play by the rules. Copyright disclaimer. We will be playing other people's content, but we will be pausing and adding commentary and criticism along the way. So, fair use. There we go. All right. Hope everyone is ready to go. We're going to look at the first video we're going to look at is Didi got a podcast with, I forget the guy's name. He happened to put out a post, I think, in advance of Charlie Kirk being assassinated. And I think he called it in regards to him watching Charlie changing his views on Philly over 2025, right? And more radically over the summer. And then everything that happened to him publicly and privately, but now we know, now it's public. And so, but some of the conversation that we're really focusing on is not so much his post and all that. It's some of his perspective, and he's pulling from his knowledge with what they did with J6ers, and there's a couple other scenarios where like 14 or 12 out of the 14 people that were implicated in, I think the Michigan, the governor or someone in Michigan who like planned her own kidnapping and stuff like that. There was like 14 people arrested, but 12 of them were federal agents. And the two that didn't, self-incriminate or cooperate and had nothing to do with it, were the ones that got arrested. Right. And that it is very easy. And he walks us through, and I think his take on, and it's his conjecture. It's his opinion. Some of the facts he relates from what we know publicly about Tyler Robinson, what led up to that day, what happened that day, and the subsequent days that followed, regarding Tyler and like Lance and his family. A lot of it is conjecture, though. It's his narrative on how he thinks it could have gone down, on how they selected Tyler, how Tyler could have gone along with what he thought his role to play in this was. But then once he got fully framed for the whole thing as a lone gunman, it's super interesting. I think it's very compelling. I think it's very plausible and very likely, actually. And I think it's the first time I've heard something which encompasses Tyler's complicity to some regard in this without spouting the whole FedSlop narrative that, Tyler did this by himself, lone gunman theory, which I just think is ridiculous at this point. Anyone to claim that is just intentionally being dishonest, or, I saw a clip of someone gave a super chat to Gary Melton the other day asking about his professional background. And he's like worked for the State Department and like federal agencies. And he tried to gloss over and like just transition as if he didn't almost just out himself I'll have to find that sometime and share that with you guys. But yeah. So, all right, let's get into it. Everyone can hear me good? Where is my phone? Oh my goodness. There it is. Hold on. Sorry. Got to make sure this is how I communicate with certain people. Let me know that everything is going good. All right, let's get into it.
I have a bunch of different ideas. There's not one thing that made me, think that that was going to happen other than I know a lot about Israel. I've studied, I've watched, I've seen how they treat people in the news and how they treat people who they perceive to be an asset, who then they lose control of, and how that can become much more of a liability to them than someone who is always a foil or always a heel. Someone who's always been anti-Israel isn't as nearly a big a threat as someone who was once pro-Israel, who then turns the other cheek and decides to turn a new page. And very publicly, if you're Charlie Kirk, you're leading an organization where you're every day changing the hearts and minds of people who are listening to you speak. He can't go out for years from 2020 through 2023 and say, we have to support Israel because of these reasons.
That's not my audio, just so you guys know. That's his. It's all, I don't know if he's too close to the mic or he has his settings set up wrong, but hopefully it doesn't bother everyone too much.
A couple of videos go viral of kids saying, Charlie, and again, this was really inarticulate of the guy, but give him credit. He said, Charlie, Israel was behind 9/11. Yep. And Charlie scoffed and goes, were they really? And he goes, yeah, you have to look into it. Well, that was like almost 2 years ago. Charlie had a turning of the page and a change of heart since those clips were going viral. So one of the reasons I thought Israel would absolutely kill Charlie Kirk if he was turning heel and not do it publicly on the street in a car where he has an.
And so this gentleman, Tommy Borum, and I think he had a show called like the Borum Forum or something like that. I think he is some sort of journalist or something like that. Because he talks about like having sources and having done interviews and things like that. But he thinks some things about Charlie that I haven't really heard other people say regarding Charlie's knowledge about Philly, because he goes into detail that Charlie, unlike most people in the political sphere, Charlie was very well read. Right. And we've heard many people say this, that he was an autodidact and he was self-taught. And I agree. I think that is 100% true. And then so it begs the question, right? Knowing Charlie read things about history, right? And knows what is out there about like JFK. The more you dig into the JFK thing, you really, I mean, there's so many different organizations, whether that be like the mob, the mafia, like the Jewish mob, the Italian mafia, you have the FBI, the CIA, you have, the Wet Works team, the Castro hit squad that, was down in Cuba and Mexico training. And, you have, people that were being investigated by his brother, the attorney general at the time. But also which I hadn't really heard until this last couple years, probably because they weren't allowing it to get out to us. But Phillies, the issue that, Robert and JFK were pushing back on Philly and their desire to obtain enriched uranium and obtain a nuclear, weapon and not register under FARA. And, that Philly seems to have played some role. I mean, when you look at what JFK was doing with them prior to, and then what LBJ did immediately after, it's hard not to see the direct correlation in, that being a motive to take him out. So it does beg the question, like, did Charlie just not know? How could Charlie not know the truth about Philly? Not know the truth about their involvement in 9/11? Not know about Bibi coming here all the time since 1996 saying Iran is weeks away from a weapon, weeks away. We got to go to Iran. We got to do it. Or was he, playing a part, a role, and as his base, the Gen Z, youth college crowd began to shift on Philly, his ability to defend them greatly diminished over time without looking completely suspect. If he continued to just defend Philly, irregardless of any facts that were coming out and all of the issues that his major supporters were having, they would start to lose respect. And I agree with that. Like, he didn't really have a choice to just be this, proponent and defender of Philly to the end. He really, if he wanted to stay transparent and look objective and not look like he's just a bought shill for them. And so it does seem that as he started to publicly shift on this, so to, go with the changing of the tides, that they would push back and be like, what are you doing? Right. And that would make sense. John Mappin's, I think it's John or Mike Mappin, talking about the letter that Charlie wrote BB, saying that, like, look, you guys need to change your approach, your tactics, what you're doing. You're losing support in the United States. That I think he was attempting to let them know, like, things are changing, you guys. Are the old way of people just pulling a Ted Cruz and a Lindsey Graham, it's not going to work. Look at, you go to some of the events, you look at the videos that Lindsey and Ted went to recently, they get booed as they're coming on stage at their own events. He didn't want that to happen. I mean, whether he agreed with his base or not, I think he did. I think he for sure was legitimately raising questions and issues with Philly that he 100% believed were real issues and not just doing it to appease the base. But the question then is, well, how did he really not know until October, 2023? How is that the true awakening of Charlie Kirk on the Philly issue if he really was this completely well-read, self-taught autodidact that knew history? I guess, no, I had already started, like, once I learned things about 9/11, it changed my perspective wholeheartedly on Philly. And it kind of just was an incremental, lack of trust and questioning them ever since. It's hard for me to know, for any of us to really know where that, became aware to Charlie. But so he brings that up. That's kind of what he's talking about.
Explosion or a car accident that kills him on the highway with his friends, which is how they can get it done. No, they would do it publicly. They would have it be a public show, a spectacle.
Philly.
They couldn't afford, this is just my rationale. And some of this is, thinking in hindsight, why would Israel want to kill Charlie Kirk and no one else necessarily, Tucker Carlson or someone else? They're not doing public speaking engagements where people are doing live Q&A.
All right, so this is the tweet. Tommy Borum, that's the gentleman in the windbreaker from 1980, which I like. It's cool looking. But he did this post on August 13th, 2025. And, it's in reply to Harrison Smith, because Harrison Smith is the dude that worked for InfoWars, or does work for InfoWars, that said he had a source that told him that Charlie had said, he was afraid Philly was going to take him out. And Tommy said they would. And if Charlie turned heel on Israel, they would have someone shoot him at an open air event. And they would have some idiot Groyper with a genetically anomalous issue there to be the patsy fall guy. Part of why you never make the deal with the devil in the first place. It is so oddly specific It's insane. But you know what? It's not out of the norm for someone who has paid attention to history, paid attention to how Philly has dealt with people in the past, knowing their modes and, their modus operandi, to then call it out. Alex Jones did the same thing with 9/11. He said specifically that they'd fly planes into the Twin Towers and blame it on Osama bin Laden. That doesn't mean he actually knew that, and was a part of it. And so I don't think that him being able to say this, and it end up being what happened, points to him having any sort of participation in it, or foreknowledge. I think it's more just him knowing what he knew about like Philly and what they've done in the past and how they operate and what they would do. And he called it just like he saw it. That's my take on it. We got Sonia Moore. Thank you so much for your super. The guy Didi spoke with seemed pretty intuitive. I tend to agree. CK was trying to sound the alarm. I agree, Sonia. I agree. Thank you for the super.
And when you look at Charlie Kirk clips, virtually all of them, but for a few, were him interacting with young people.
Yep.
Those were the kind of clips that Ben Shapiro would kill for, pun intended. And so when you look at Charlie Kirk, if you can imagine this, you had clips of Charlie Kirk defending Israel to kids on campus, and you saw that one go viral of the guy saying Israel was behind 9/11.
Yeah.
Put yourself in Bibi's shoes. Can you imagine going to war with Iran and forcing Americans to go to war with Iran if there are clips of Charlie Kirk going viral on college campuses all through 2025 and into this year, 2026?
100% I've said that. 100% so many people have said that for Philly's number one supporter and public defender out here in the United States to publicly start to question, condemn, criticize their actions, especially in regards to this war that hadn't happened yet, but that we know Charlie was just adamantly against, it would be massive. That alone is more than enough motive for people in power, these different companies that seek to gain financially, whatever. You guys look at the, 9/11 and the war, and we're not the same. It's not the same world. We look back, we look at pre 9/11 United States, post 9/11 United States, totally different. I think in 10 to 15 years, maybe even less than that, we'll look back at how the United States was before Charlie Kirk's assassination and what the United States is like after. I think it's the same thing. And only just imagine if he was alive to be here in this moment, seeing what we're seeing now with actual troops being sent on the ground. We have fighters that are being shot down and taken, one on, MIA right now. One is, arrested and in custody. American servicemen and women have already been, their lives have been taken. Charlie would be against this. There is no question. Anyone to say otherwise is a total dishonest individual, like Erica and TPUSA and Andrew Colvett and Blake Neff.
Of him agreeing with the kids saying, you're right, we shouldn't be involved. Because the next step is a kid saying to Charlie, hey, when you're of age, and if you ever run for president, Charlie, would you promise now to never go to war on behalf of another country? And if the moment he says yes, that becomes a viral clip.
Yeah.
So Israel, think about like the opportunity cost. If from September 2025 on, they continue to see not just that Charlie's kind of leaning away from them, but that the trajectory of his going away from them is more and more damage over time.
Yep.
Then they have to get rid of him now. And so when I see he is feeling that Israel will kill him, that's confirming my suspicions that I had for weeks and maybe months. Because we saw for the spring and through the summer, Charlie Kirk had told people like Megyn Kelly, I'm being smeared as an anti-Semite for simply questioning Israel, something that we have done for years. So if you're someone like me and you question why in 2011, I'm begging with my godmother in Florida, I'm asking her, why is it that we're giving $85 million a week to Israel? And she's saying, you sound like a Jew hater. And I'm clocking this going, I can see the labeling before it even occurs.
And it's so true. We're not allowed to ask any just basic questions of Philly's involvement, in our political environment, our politicians, the money that they get, how their intel agency is either controlling ours completely, or it's just, after World War II, the intel agencies set up in certain countries are all just one. They're all just one working together for their own means. But that's the intel that was used to justify 9/11, to go into Iraq, because there'd be no real reason to go to Iraq if you really believe that Osama's the one that did the attacks on the Twin Towers. Iraq had nothing to do with it. Oh, but WMDs, go look. Bibi's the one that brought that here. Goodness. How can we not question that? But yet at the same time, if we ever do, we're just automatically Jew hater, anti-Semite.
So now 15 years later, you were still having the same conversations publicly now, where if you question Israel, you're called a Jew hater.
Yep.
Whether or not you do or don't like Jews, you're now labeled that way.
Yep.
It got to the point where Charlie was earning that label for, he thought, earnestly trying to maintain his credibility and integrity publicly by criticizing Israel. See, I think, an aside here, privately, he may still have totally supported it, but publicly, he has to maintain credibility. And so he has to go publicly and say, you're right, we should question these things. He goes on Patrick.
And look, I'm not agreeing with everything Tommy's saying. However, it is really compelling and interesting as a thought experiment as to why it took Charlie so long to publicly condemn Philly and the actions of Philly. And that when you look at the major donors of TPUSA and the people behind TPUSA, it really does start to paint a picture that either he was between a real rock and a real hard place, because he did start the organization, or was part of starting the organization. At least he didn't solely start it himself, long before most of America started to question Philly. It hadn't happened yet. And so I get why, like, it never, TPUSA didn't start out like that, in that until really recently, you would say probably after October 2023 is really when it started to shift. But that's when it became public, acceptable. Well, sort of. I mean, we started to talk about it more, and we started to care less about the labels that they throw on us and the attacks that happen to us, because free speech is more important. But I was just saying, I'm not, just because I'm playing this I'm not in agreement with everything Tommy's saying. It is interesting to think about the possible different degrees to which what was happening with Charlie behind the scene.
But David, and says he's been flying around in helicopters in Israel for years. It takes 45 minutes to get across the country. Why did it take them 6 hours on that day?
Correct.
He wants answers.
Yeah.
Laying out a logical question for them was a liability. And for him to do it was more damage than it was worth to allow him to live. So I thought, again, if Charlie feels that way and he's telling people privately, hey, I think if I say anything more, Israel's going to kill me, and that person hears that and goes and tells Harrison, I take that two ways. One, maybe Charlie told that source, you need to go and let some people know in the media as an anonymous source that I am fearing for my life and that Israel is going to kill me. I've said these things. I can't take it back. The clips are going viral. I have people that are donors to TPUSA all over my phone. They're blowing me up. Bill Hackman wants me to get to the Hamptons. It's not going well.
Yep.
If he tells someone like Andrew Colvett, I'm going to put it in a text message, and I'm going to tell you privately, and I need you to go and tell a couple people in the news. I need you to go tell Harrison. I need you to go tell Candace. I need you to go tell everybody else and leak it to these people.
And this is his hypothetical, scenario. He's not saying this is what happened. He could see how Charlie in trying to get this message out, would try to go about it without signaling to everyone else around him that he's completely afraid for his life, or else the jig would be up and they'd be moving even faster to take him out. And him not wanting him to be named as the source of leaking this information, how possibly Charlie might have gone about trying to get this text and information out to everyone.
Maybe that's one reason that Harrison says, I'm not giving up the source, because it gives away the person who may be trying to help from the inside. The same way that Candace for a long time said, I'm not going to give away Andrew Colvett until he gives himself away.
Correct.
Now Andrew Colvett's in a position where he's saving his own skin, saying, no, it was Joe Ken.
Yeah,
so you can kind of see where I thought this isn't just Harrison Smith getting a tip and running out to be first.
Right.
This is like a
signal call.
I've got a message, but I can't verbalize it. I'm going to hand it off to you. You hand it off to them, and then it gets read, and no one can blame me as the messenger because that's what Charlie Kirk was doing. I think he was tossing pigeons.
My first question to you was, I have so many questions, man. So my first question to you was going to be, who do you think that source, that TPUSA source is, or that the person that was in the orbit of Charlie Kirk? And my first guess, I think the most obvious one to me, would have been Andrew Colvett. And the reasoning is because sort of this Andrew Colvett, Candace Owens dynamic is a bit weird to me.
I agree.
Because obviously Candace appears to be over here. Andrew Colvett appears to be over here. Yet Candace at the very beginning said that Andrew Colvett was the one that was telling her things. He was the one that told her, lay low. You and Tucker Carlson are next. What does that mean? What?
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean, that Andrew Colvett was really doing it to try to help her. Like, who knows? Mr. PR could be spinning and running multiple ops on different people from different angles all at the same time. And one thing, coming into this space, I've realized is how difficult it really is to trust people, to discern who's an honest and transparent person, or who themselves are running some sort of op on everyone or on you. Are they a Fed? Like you'll hear Tommy in a minute talk about just how, and we know this from COINTELPRO. If you guys don't know about COINTELPRO, go check it out. The Feds from the beginning, dude, have just been one syndicate, one giant criminal organization, doing things in the name of the law, so to speak, or what they say is, and trying to keep America safe. But time and time again, it seems that they're the ones that have caused so much. Look at what happened to Waco. Look at what happened at Ruby Ridge. Look at what happened in Oklahoma City. Even the first bombing that happened at the World Trade Centers down, those were Feds that got him. It's just, and so to believe in what we know about J6, and also now we think about what happened in the Butler, PA. What would make this any different? Nothing. And so I think it's totally a fair question to find out who around Charlie, who that's still around in TPUSA, who's pushing this narrative hard on their channels that, the official FedSop narrative is total gospel truth. Who are those people? I think that's a very fair question.
Where would you get that information from? Tyler Robinson? You don't know Tyler Robinson, right? So what would make you think that them two in specific, those two specifically, would be next?
To that point, not to interrupt you, but I just would say, I would think that. I think posted publicly, I've said that. So coming from him, it's different. I give you that. That's odd for him to say, lay low, you're next. That means something totally different than some random on the internet who says, if they can take Charlie, they're going to look at them next. Because I think I have said something like that. Tucker's probably a target. I know Candace is one. I think Tyler Boyer has been outed as a liar by Andrew Colvett, because 100%. I think Boyer and Colvett both were in on this grift, this fraud. And I'm talking about the financials within TPUSA.
Right.
Yes.
And so when Charlie's taken out politically, they now know the guy who was their protector on the fraud is now gone, and their fraud is now the very rope they're being hung out with by the people who are now going to control. So if you can imagine, again, like the movie version of this, the funders, the donors who once just had Charlie by the balls, now they have Tyler by the balls, and Andrew by the balls, and Blake Neff by the balls. And whatever personal, leniency or generous, looking the other way that Charlie would do for these guys, these new owners don't. So some of the odd behavior, this is just my conjecture. This is just how I, as a, half crazy person, look at this. I see some of their behavior on these streams, like where Blake Neff the other day says, we have that video, but you crazy people just won't give it a rest. So we'll never release the video of Charlie.
The dumbest reason in the world.
Yeah.
So that gives me the sense that, like, they're not confident. They're in a corner. They're backed in and they're being defensive. We didn't put them in a corner. We're just asking for them to be honest. So if they can't be honest and they are signaling to me like they're not in control 100%. Now that doesn't give them any kind of out. I'm not being.
And you know what? I've definitely thought that as well. That potentially some of the people that we see that, remain at TPUSA may not have had foreknowledge, may not have been part of the plan. And this would make the plan so much more plausible. The less moving parts and individuals that are complicit in it, that were complicit from the start, from before, that were not letting anyone know, not giving Charlie any tips and planning the assassination from before. But that is some of these people weren't. But now some of these individuals, whether that be like Blake Neff and Colvet, are afraid for their lives themselves. I mean, that's not an excuse to do what they're doing. It's just a potential. It's just a potential possibility of why we see a lot of the bizarre behavior. It could be so many things that, like, we don't know. Hopefully that we find out in the end. As long as none of us move on to the next thing in the news cycle. I won't. I know this community won't. I don't think Erica is innocent, though. I know some people. I read someone's comment earlier saying they don't think Erica is involved, but they also don't think Tyler Robinson did this, and that's fine. I do think she's involved, especially just so much of what she's done after the fact. I guess you could explain it if she was afraid for her life as well. I don't know, though, when you look at her history, her past, and things that she didn't need to lie about. If it was that she had no part in this and she's afraid after the fact, why become CEO then? Like they made her. Why lie about living in China or not dating or not drinking? Why do some of these other things that really seem to be irrelevant when it comes to whether or not, she's covering for people and trying to toe the line because she's afraid for her life? A lot of those other things just don't make sense in that regard. So I don't know. For me personally, I'm still where I'm at. It's why the thumbnail is the way it is today. You can thank my wife. She's here. She's hiding in there. But she is the exec producer. She helps with different things. She's better at the thumbnails than me. I'll just say that, guys. My freaking AI, my chat GPT doesn't like me. It doesn't. I put in something and I'm like, do this. It gives me the most ridiculous thumbnail. I'm like, babe, can you put this in your chat and try to make a thumbnail for me? It pops out like the best thumbnails for her. I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, all right, sorry.
Sympathetic to that at all. Like, they should come out for it. And if telling the truth made their head explode, I want them to live stream it so we know the truth and prove to the world, because otherwise you're telling me like Israel's got a gun to my back, but I can't even tell you the truth. And that's why. And I'm telling people to just prove it.
I believe that they're afraid for their life. I've said that multiple times. I do believe, I know a lot of people's first sort of intuition is to just say that they're complicit. I get it. I totally understand it. I don't think that's the case for all of them. Like Blake Neff in particular, I'm going to tell you my theory with Blake Neff. and everything I'm about to say is alleged. None of this is considered an absolute fact.
And you guys, no matter how big this channel ever gets, I'm going to tell you this. This is just who I am. I'm never going to like stop responding to your guys' comments and interacting with you guys and like become unreachable and distant from you guys. Like not ever. This is me. What you see is what you get. I'm very down to earth. Yeah, so I love your guys' comments and different things. Like when I have time after and I'm sitting down looking at some of the things you guys say, someone was like, I think it was Renita, was like, Blake Neff looks like a Wii character. And it's funny because in my job, I play with kids, right? I work with kids on the spectrum. And, you know, one of my kiddos likes to play Mario Kart. And you can choose, you know, like a Wii character. And the dude that I have literally is bald with glasses and a beard and looks just like Blake Neff. And so when I saw that comment the other day, I was dying. I was laughing so hard because I was like, that's so true. He totally looks like a Wii character. I'm going to take a picture of it someday. I'm going to show you guys. It's hilarious. You guys crack me up, though. I love you guys. Here we go.
Yes, I want to state that for the record. This is my perception of Blake Neff. Tommy, I believe that Blake Neff literally has no clue what's going on. I believe that Blake Neff has noticed a lot of the same things that we've noticed. In fact, I believe that he's noticed additional things because he's there. And I think he's heard things and seen things that are like,
Yeah, but here's my issue with that. Explain his behavior at UVU on September 10th. So that's the thing that like I get hung up. Like I start to try to make sense of this with certain people, some of these key players. And I'm like, because honestly, that's a real good argument for the people on the you know, Fetzlop narrative side. You know, the conspiracy can't have that many moving people. Well, I mean, it could. Look at JFK, look at all that. But I know that most of these people probably are just like not, you know, all agents and stuff. Some of them probably are. But that Blake Neff, oh my gosh, what was I just saying? I hate it when I do this. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to have to hit play and then it's going to come to me. Sorry.
that's interesting. Oh, and now he has come to accept.
See, this is how it happens, guys. Okay. Not thinking that Blake Neff had foreknowledge and was part of the you know, this assassination plot beforehand. Well, make sense of Mikey McCoy and Blake Neff's behavior, Terrell Farnsworth's behavior at UVU. Philip, make sense of their behavior that day then. It doesn't make sense. They had to have known something, or else how they reacted that day makes no sense at all. Blake Neff and Mikey McCoy turn the opposite direction so that their face doesn't face Charlie as they turn that way to turn away and walk away briskly. How do they know where the threat is? How do they know the threat's not coming from back there? How do they not know that there's multiple shooters? How do they know anything? How come they don't hit the ground? How come they don't take off running? How come they don't try to find shelter behind a vehicle or a wall? Sorry, I just hit the table. I didn't mean to shake the camera. Why? Mikey McCoy with the phones to his ear and just walking away, and they both walk to the same direction, make it to the same place. That doesn't make sense to me if they didn't know. That it just doesn't. Terrell Farnsworth running and then jumping up and doing that video of himself. Charlie's dead. Charlie's dead. He's dead. You know, God help him. The most weird and bizarre thing to do after you just watched your boss and friend assassinated in front of you. And then Terrell comes and takes the SD cards and then lies about it. Oh, I didn't want them to steal. People were stealing hats. I'll just leave the cameras. Okay. That doesn't make sense. Candace says, send it to me. Send me what you got. I don't know how to send a file. He's an AV guy. What are you talking about? Oh, I'll put it on my computer and then I'll show you with my phone and then you'll be on your phone. So you're going to be like 3 times removed from seeing the original footage. Come on. I'm not trying to say everyone's involved the whole way. I'm really not, because it's very difficult to say that's realistically possible. But explain these individuals' behavior on the day of at UVU, those that are there. Frank Turek, his behavior doesn't make sense. Things he said, the fact that he's lied, he's changed his story multiple times. It doesn't make sense unless he's part of this somehow. Key players in the security team, Dan Flood, Brian Harpole, make sense of them. You can't unless you just are honest and they're like, they were part of this, man. So I get that Didi's trying to, he's just trying to be honest that the more people we say are part of this, the less likely it really is. I get that. I do. I'm in that same predicament as well. I think we all are that are being honest. However, make sense of their behavior that day at UVU. Okay. You can't. It doesn't make sense. And then what about Andrew Colvett and the flights and then everything else? Like, man, that's what makes this so hard to try to discern. To what degree did these individuals have foreknowledge, were part of the planning, the execution and the cover up? It's like, I go back and forth with that.
That the fear of what may have truly happened to Charlie is probably too great. So therefore, I'm going to go in protection mode. I'm going to protect Erica, even though I really knew her. He admitted that himself.
None of them really knew Erica. None of them. The only one that actually truly knew Erica beforehand is Tyler Boyer. And I don't know to what degree Terrell Farnsworth, because Terrell and Tyler go way back as well. They're both LDS. Their families are high up in the LDS church. But for sure, Erica's connected to Tyler Boyer as far back as like 2014, maybe even before to 2012. So I know that, yeah, Blake and Andrew didn't really know Erica. And so just think about that. Her ability to, lie to them and deceive them as to who she was and who she is very strong. She's able to pull that off because they don't really know her. You guys, do me a favor. I'm going to hit play in just a second, but I just checked the where we're at. We got 380 people here. We got 136 likes. Please do me a favor and just hit the like, hit the subscribe. It's how you can help support the channel. All right, let's get back into it.
I'm going to protect TPUSA, and I'm going to go on these very unconvincing rants doing these live streams about conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists and why they just won't accept the narrative because it's just too simple. And my friend passed away, when he is in the dark when it comes to a lot of things as well. And I think he's fearful. Andrew Colvett, I think, knows more. That's my theory.
Okay, well, I agree 100% that Andrew Colvett knows more. Just looking at the two of them, I mean, there's a brains and then there's the guy who's supposed to look like the brain in front of the computer, right?
Yeah, but
it's the wizard behind the. Anyway, so I think Blake is meant to look like, because he totally does. I think he's meant to look like the guy who is, the not to be crass, but like the dork behind the screen who's going to be, the producer / co-host / the technicality guy who's going to research things on the fly. And then Andrew Colvett is supposed to be the charmer.
Yeah.
And Charlie Kirk is like the leader, the brave. And so this is how I think they're supposed to stage it. Like they're not characters and they're not acting, but they are cast in these kinds of archetypes. And
to almost appear as more authentic.
Sorry, again?
To almost appear more authentic, because if you have people who are at the forefront who truly don't know what happened, then maybe it buys you credit. It buys you some sort of authenticity, and people can look and say, well, I mean, they do really seem like they care, but it seems to have had the opposite effect, though. It seems that we can see through them. We can still see through them. Like something's off, something is inauthentic here. There's incomplete truths. There's half truths that they're sharing.
All right, I want to get to the part where he starts talking about Tyler Robinson, because is the main reason why I wanted to play this. And yes, what they've covered so far.
They're giving dumb reasons like difference in the audio.
Yeah, pipe it in, layer it in with music, and make sure that it's, when you compress it and you splice it all together, it sounds like it was recorded on a mic somewhere. Sure.
Bingo.
They're talking about how they believe the audio recording of, Charlie Kirk saying Erica Kirk should take over. I appoint her as CEO is BS.
Honestly, that audio doesn't do a lot for me. Yeah. I think people are being distracted with like, well, who's taking over? And she stood to make more. Like, I'm thinking more about the fact that they rigged a way to set up a murder and have it appear as though someone else did the thing. And I watched a couple of your streams, actually.
And this is where we're going to start getting into it.
The ones I watched the interview that you did, or the debate, if you want to call it that, with the gal. I didn't realize that she was the same lady from the clip where with Paramount Tactical is referring to some and they're looking at the document, and it's dated.
It's the flight. It's supposedly the alibi for Andrew Colvett on his flight that day on September 10th, but it's an itinerary, first of all, and it's the Google Maps portion of it is dated 2026, and then the letterhead and everything is totally fraudulent. And they read that live. I mean, Gary, he didn't learn his lesson by like doing things live on the air. Like, maybe you guys should do things ahead of time. I don't know.
This year, and she is like, that's weird. I don't know what that is. So I saw that debate that you did with her. There are a few things that she just does not get, doesn't understand. She thinks the charging document statements are facts and that they are evidence themselves. They're not. It's the sheriff giving a summary of how he would characterize the case. Yeah, that's what that is.
That's what it is.
So I watched that. I watched your other video on this, the other one that you did, I think the day before, or maybe the day after. So I'm fascinated by how they were able to set Tyler James Robinson to appear to be,
we're going to get it,
the shooter. And I wonder if you have some thoughts on that. I wonder if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah.
Because I have a theory on how it was that he came to be on the campus.
So good.
And how it was that they came to have his gun.
Yes, let's get in.
Whoa, you already losing me. You believe that he was on the campus?
Well, I'm going to explain. So I started out by telling you, like, I have a bunch of different theories, and so I'm not married to any one of them. Okay. But when I'm thinking these things through, I want to run out every ground ball. I want to,
and I get what he's trying to do. I agree with Didi though. Eagle Boy is not Tyler Robinson. Eagle Boy was on the Losi Center roof. Eagle Boy did not have a weapon on him. We made that completely clear by that video breakdown of that guy breaking down that rifle, which is the same size and length, and it had the scope and everything. Takes him over a minute, and this guy's trained and his heart rate is low, no adrenaline, couldn't do it in 15 to 30 seconds, which is the amount of time that elapsed from the shot, from the time that video starts off with the person in a dead sprint about 15 feet away from the shooting position with nothing in his hands, nothing in his backpack. Didn't have it in his backpack going up. It wouldn't have fit in the backpack. The barrel would have been sticking out. And same with the buttstock would have been sticking out. What else? Wasn't down his pants. His pants were way too tight. You could see the outline of the phone in his right pocket. He's bending both of his knees at different times in the video, going down the stairs initially to go under the tunnel to get onto UVU, and then walking up the steps to get onto the Losi Center roof. There is no rifle on that individual at any time. So I do not think Tyler was on campus that day at all.
Think about every possible option and go, okay, I'm putting a bias aside. I'm putting my own perspective and my own belief about what I think is true aside. Could this be? How could it be based on the facts that we are given? And what would need to be true for this to also be? And then does it logically make sense? Because I find that a lot of the truth is exactly within those thought patterns. And when I think Israel would kill Charlie Kirk. That's how it comes to be that, well, of course, Charlie does speaking engagements. They're going to do it at an open air event. They're going to want as many people to see it as possible because how dare he go publicly on all these different shows after they've propped him up privately for a decade. Now he's going to go out and publicly criticize them. How dare he? So that was their number one. They're like, they're not going to do it, privately. They're not going to have him be poisoned or, shot in an alley.
No,
it's going to be a public thing.
But why though? Why do you think
to send a message to everybody?
They did it public.
Well, for that reason.
Because they propped him up publicly.
I think there's a bunch of different layers to it. So so it's like a bundle of reasons. And one of them that's in that bundle is Charlie's a very public figure. He does these public speaking engagements. So if he's going to make viral clips criticizing Israel, we're going to have the last viral clip of him ever be, that's a punishment. That's a vindictive, satanic thought of we're going to use his key talent against him. If the one thing he would maybe wield against them is viral clips talking to kids, we're going to make the most viral clip of him talking to a kid ever. And that's what they did.
And the very last viral clip of him ever.
So that was the thought process, is like, run it backwards and reverse engineer. What's the worst thing they would do to their worst enemy? And that's what they do. And then how do they get out of it? How do they make sure that you would always see it as someone else having done it? And so how do they create a war within America or divide the right amongst themselves? We just had this coalition, elect Donald Trump on the right? The libertarians and the moderates and the far right came together with Republicans and then the weird people in between. How do you divide that? Well, you pit Nick Fuentes types against the Charlie Kirk types. And so there you go. And so I did not believe for a moment that an actual groyper would be the one to try to kill Charlie Kirk.
Right.
Because they love goofing on him. They like mocking him at his events. They wouldn't want him dead. They're like the Joker to his Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
like the Un-F America tour literally would and has pretty much ceased to really be relevant and have anything to do without the American Comeback Tour, without Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I agree.
Laughing like, I wouldn't want to kill you. Like, that's how they feel about it.
They need each other.
Yeah,
nice Heath Ledger Joker there.
I wouldn't want to kill you. Exactly. That's how they, I think of it. But somebody else wants them both at each other's necks. And that, I think, would be the Israel figure. So you pick a guy, and here's where my theory kind of goes off the books, so to speak. Like, there's not evidence insofar as no one in the family made this statement that proves this to be true. I'm looking at data points and saying, I see a picture here. And so here's what the picture I want to explain. They told you that he was in a Discord server with a bunch of sympathizers of trans, furries, other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you in any Discord servers?
I mean, I just started one, but not really.
Okay. I'm in one that connects to the PlayStation so that I can do game chat with the guys who constantly get banned for spamming some words that we get banned for saying. Okay. Right. So 7 dudes, and I know 3 of them. I've talked to 2 of them, and I lived with one of them a couple of years.
And I'll have to do a poll, you guys. It's been brought to my attention that maybe you guys want a Discord chat for this community. I'll do a poll while this is going. You guys take the poll, and that'll decide whether or not we do it. I have no experience on Discord, so I have no clue how to do it. I'm going to need help, but I'll throw a poll up.
Years ago, that's how I got in it. So I know some of the people that are in it. Okay. The other names in that 7 people, 2 of them could be feds. I could tell you right now, I have no idea. They could just be feds. Wouldn't know. So that's one piece of data that I just have in the background. It's like, you never know who you're talking to online, period. Number 2, how many people do you think are in his Discord server? Because we don't know.
All right.
But if it's sympathizing with trans furries at a college campus, can we bet it's maybe 50, 100, more, fewer? Maybe it's 24. Does he know all of them? No. Has he met all of them? No.
And I know I interrupted at different points. They're talking about Tyler Robinson and the Discord server and chat that he was supposedly in. And this is Tommy Borum laying out how Tyler could have been selected, approached, and then turned into the patsy.
You start to put, in my mind, some doubt as to there may be some bad actors in that group.
Yep.
who are also running burners on X, posting Charlie Kirk's going to have a bad day tomorrow, just to make sure there's enough chaff in the air for people not to know where to look, but to know that something's going on. You're clouding, you're kicking up dust. So he's in a Discord server. And what do you think the conversations for the weeks prior to Charlie Kirk's appearance at UVU were? Because again, if you're
priming him,
if you're Israel, you've got a plan, you've got a date, you've got a time, you've got a location, you've got a team to carry it out. Now you need a fall guy. That's the last piece of this that you need, is to make someone believe that they are going to be a part of a plan to kill Charlie Kirk. So you go online and you get in the Discord and you find out, we have an agent who retired and his neighbor is a trans twink furry and what. So you get human intelligence as signals intelligence, and you ask a couple of military Fort Huachuca guys or whatever, some Mormons at UVU who maybe have a predilection to some of these things anyways. Maybe Charlie Kirk giving that money to the trans person on OnlyFans was real. Maybe Blake Neff.
I don't think that. I don't think that at all.
And his writing about trans fetishes 15 or 10 years ago is how he really feels. And right now playing a conservative producer podcaster is the act, like we said. Maybe some of these guys, we don't know, but maybe some of them had some perversions, and maybe Charlie was closeted gay and Erica is a beard. We don't know, but these are questions. Like I say, I run out every ground ball. Think it through. Does it logically make sense? And ask later. If they're Israel and they're going to kill Charlie Kirk, they need a patsy or fall guy. And you need to, if you're running my theory, make it appear as though it's someone that likes Nick Fuentes, or someone that hates Trump but isn't on the left, and someone who is anti-Israel, because again, you're trying to make sure no one looks your way. If you're Bibi and you're going to sign off on a Mossad deal to kill Charlie,
right?
You don't want anyone looking your way.
Agreed.
So you look to the absolute anti-Israel opponent, that's the Groypers, and you go, okay, which of the Groypers like some really weird, perverted fetish stuff? Because we're going to find one that we can blackmail, like a Black Mirror episode where you find some dirt on a kid on a website. He was watching a pedo something that he shouldn't have or whatever. And now you tell him to go rob the bank. And then you tell him to give the money to this guy. That guy is another person you're blackmailing. And you've seen this episode. If you haven't, people that are watching ought to be familiar. You can compartmentalize operators to be part of a grander conspiracy that they themselves are none the wiser to while they're in the act. So I put myself in Tyler Robinson's shoes for the gross moment that I have to. And you say, okay, I'm on my little Discord and I'm on my new college campus. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm being heavily influenced by new drugs I've never experienced by being away from my mom and dad. And I may be drinking too and not sure. And I'm living with this guy, and this guy is being, I would say, they're codependent. And I think if we don't know anything about Lance Twiggs, right? We know nothing about him.
Right.
That's very suspicious to me. I have a lot of ideas about what that relationship should have been in the first place. I don't know if he was an op sent or if he was just one of these people that, like I said, they look into the database of who they know from Intel and they go, we got a guy at UVU who's got a son there, and they tap him on the shoulder and they say, who does Lance know? And say, oh, Lance is already in a Discord and he's living with a guy and that guy has a gun, and they go, bingo. And so all those things we don't know, I could guess at, and people are going to get hung up on details. My theory goes like this. Tyler Robinson's in the Discord. He's on the campus. He's in some kind of an association in which there are feds or informants or both, or someone who is running a deep cover. In other words, someone who's a clandestine operator posing as someone who is also a college age student who is also in.
And so for those of you that are joining late or came in after I've already stated this, I just want to restate it. Plus, I can't let it play for too long without having paused and added some sort of commentary and critique on this. I do not agree with everything Tommy Borum is saying. However, I do think it is very compelling, his thought experiment on how the federal, Bureau of Investigation or, multiple different agencies could have and do and have a history of doing this, find someone, select someone, and then start to work that individual and get them to agree to partake and participate in the planning, preparation, and execution of some sort of crime of which they do not know the whole picture, and they are only aware of their little part, which is totally right up FBI, CIA, and intelligence alley, compartmentalizing different parts of operations, whether that be psyops or even just how they're structured. Compartmentalization is, the whole statement, need to know. You don't have a need to know. You don't get to know. You get to know what you need to know, and that's it.
To fetish style furry things.
Right.
Robinson just has to get the cue off from one of these people in a ranted, heated little exchange where 3 of them square up with him on a little digital card table conversation. Seat 1 says, Charlie's coming to UVU. Can you believe it? Seat 2 says, no, I wish someone would just bang him if he was nearby. Maybe another person says, I would do it, but I can't because I don't have a rifle and I can't buy one in time. Another one again says, does someone here have one? LOL. It'd be so funny if we could get away with it. And now you've put the idea in his head that he's going to go, well, my grandpa has a rifle. And they go, okay, now here's the thing, Didi. I believe they already knew he had it.
Yeah.
I believe they go, paperwork, AI data. Let's pull up the the game Guess Who, where it's like you and I have a little. So they go, AI, tell us the best patsy choice, and they go, beep, boop, FBI. Here are 3 people that you could frame up for this. This one's the most believable. Here he is,
and you have to know the public AI that we have, right? Whether that's Grok or ChatGPT. I just found out about a new one that Joe Rogan was using. I forget the name of it, but we're going to look at a clip with him and Theo Vaughn in a minute. I want to look that one up. But the government and the military and some of these intel and, different agencies, they for sure have access to a better version of AI than we have, which is tapped into databases and things that we don't have access to. And so I think it's 100% plausible and likely that they have the ability to use their military grade, government grade AI to identify, select, and target individuals for different operations.
It's this dysgenic looking dude who dressed up as a meme, who has been kind of friends with no one since the middle of high school, who now got this super genius grant to go to college, and he's immediately fallen in love with a gay guy.
Yeah.
He's easily manipulatable. And maybe they have a raw score where they go, his swayability score is like a 94. So we just need a couple different people to act as though
they for sure do behavioral profiles on individuals, whether that be people that they are recruiting to be part of the agency, the government, people that they want to target and use as patsies. They for sure have the ability to create a whole behavioral profile on people and know how they would decide, make a decision on this. How would they react to this? How to nudge them, what to do, what not to do, to nudge them to the outcome that they want.
Cooler than him and might want to be his friend. And he would do whatever they ask.
Yep.
So what if one of them just says, hey, I won't do anything crazy, wink, wink, meme face, totally not going to do it, whatever, insinuates that they will, but gives him plausible deniability and says, who has a rifle that I can practice with for the next week? Didi, do you remember the neighbors talking to the news reporters when they showed up at Lance Twiggs' house? The neighbors said, well, the one thing I noticed that's been really odd was that the week prior to the day, they had strange cars pull up with plates that they didn't recognize from out of state.
They did.
People that they'd never seen before come out, go into the garage, stay for a matter of minutes, then collect with a bag and leave.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right.
Yep. Neighbors said they saw very, very suspicious, abnormal, not typical behavior with military aged individuals, right? Like in their 20s to 30s, grown looking men in different kinds of cars, that really made them, it stood out to them so much that they told that to the local police and authorities in the days and weeks that followed, that they had noticed this abnormal behavior of traffic of individuals in different cars coming, parking, staying, entering, exiting, doing different things at Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson's condo house apartment thing.
So again, if I'm the Discord guy, I go, hey, you don't have to pull the trigger. But if I got a gun this close to the time and I used it, they'd know it was me. Again, I'm just like Captain Fed boy. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put my Fed hat on, talk to the people in the Discord. If he then says, well, I've got a rifle, but I can't be associated with it, they go, here's our plan. And again, Didi, this is all just Tommy thinking out loud. This is just where I go, like, this could all be wrong, but I think the gist of it is accurate. Whether or not I'm getting the details right, I think the idea is sound.
Yep.
They come to the house. They, again, posing as guys near campus who are friends with the furries. They're actually feds or informants or wearing a wire, what have you. Go into the garage, pick up the guns, see the cartridges, go, thanks. Meet us at this time at this part of the campus. Bring your empty rifle bag that we see you jumping off the roof with in the video. Remember, we see him jumping with that thing that flops.
Yeah.
If you ever run around with a rifle bag with no rifle in it, that's what it looks like.
Right.
So he's there because weeks or days earlier, people had come to his house to pick up his rifle. He believed, I'm helping set up Charlie Kirk for murder. Someone else is going to use the gun. They're never going to know it was me because I didn't pull the trigger.
I don't know that it is an empty rifle bag. It's possible. The Eagle Boy, the guy on the Losi Center roof, had his backpack, that black backpack, was stuffed with something, whether that be clothes and or other things, because it was full. And it wasn't like, you could see it was full of like something like a blanket, like a towel, like a sweater, like a change of clothes. I don't think that it is very clear what is in his right hand when he jumps off the roof. It is for sure not a rifle. It's not a fixed, solid, long, straight object. It's a flimsy thing that he has in a hand. To me, it looks like a sweater and or a towel of some sort. And then in his left hand is something small. And I don't know what it is, because when he falls, or it's his glasses, I think it might have been his glasses that as he fell to the ground, it's either his hat or his glasses fall off. I'd have to go back and watch the video, because he's got the thing in his right hand and he reaches after he, absorbs the jump down. He picks something up with his left hand, small, because he can pick it up with one hand, and then he runs off. But I don't think that it is clear that it was an empty rifle bag in his right hand.
Trigger. I just helped them do it. Again, evil.
Yeah.
But that's all he thought he was doing.
Yeah.
So he thought he was being real slick. I don't believe that person in the Discord collected the messages from Lance Twiggs' end that were authentically sent from Tyler Robinson. I think the same people in the Discord who collected the messages from Lance Twiggs' end sent them from Robinson's end.
Yeah. And I've said that too. And I agree that for sure, Tyler Robinson played some kind of part and role in this assassination. However, he did not play the main character, and no shot, I don't think, was taken at all from the Losi Center. Definitely not from Eagle Boy. There's no rifle on him. Maybe a shot was taken from a different roof. If, you follow John Bray's work, that went into the back of the van, into the ballistic gel block that's possibly in the back of the van, that's underneath to the left, underneath the hollow flags to the left of, well, it would have been to the right of Charlie from Charlie's view, but if you're looking at Charlie, it would have been to the left. But that Tyler Robinson for sure played some sort of peripheral role in this event. I thought it was being around campus with his car, dropping something off, picking something up, maybe, being willing to allow his rifle to be used in the commission of this crime. How did they know that he had that rifle, right? The FBI and this narrative had to have been set up ahead of time, so they would have had to know to set this whole 30-06 narrative up, that he had that very unique, very specific rifle that didn't even have a serial number because it was made and created before they did that. It was a government-issued, I think, rifle to his grandfather back in World War II or I. It was like 1900s era. But that he either willingly or was coached into allowing someone to use that rifle, or just do some sort of peripheral support in this plan. I definitely think that's at most all Tyler did. I think it's very, very, very unlikely that there's any evidence that he was on campus that day. Eagle Boy. Yeah, I saw someone's comment that that individual looks either Hispanic, maybe Native American, or Asian to some degree. And I agree. I know we don't see everything because he's wearing a hat and glasses, but what you can see in his complexion alone is a darker, more olive tan skin than Tyler Robinson, who's like extremely pale. And if we look at the photos of Tyler from the day of arrest and the day after, he wasn't tan. It's not like he had a tan and it was wearing off, right? You see the photo of the guy, Eagle Boy, that day, darker olive skin. And then you see Tyler the next day, pale skin. Not the same kid. Not at all. Not even the same build, shoulders, facial structure, ears, nose, lips, all different.
While Robinson is at the campus, his PC is at his home. So Lance Twiggs is there nesting, as we have been told he does. He doesn't leave. Is it possible that Lance Twiggs pulls up his phone and says, "Where are you?"
Yeah.
And then gets on the PC and pretends he's Robinson and says, "I just did it. It was me."
100%.
And frames a conversation.
Could he not have done it? Could not Tyler Robinson not have done it from his phone?
He totally could have. But my point is, if it shows that it's a Discord message being sent, and I believe that the Discord chat could have been, if not entirely faked to begin with, inauthentic and staged to incriminate one and give the other the alibi.
Correct. Yeah. And that, like, Tyler's not an idiot. He's not going to write out things that only incriminate him, right? And admit to only his part in this assassination and exonerate Lance Twiggs and anyone else. That's completely counterintuitive to the individual and the type of person that Tyler is said to be. Highly intelligent.
Yeah. Right? Like, okay, if I got dirt on you, I'm going to write a letter from you to me telling me about all the dirt that I have on you now. And now, if I give it to the cops, it makes it look like you confessed to me, even though I wrote it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that's what I think is happening. Now, it could have been an informant in the Discord chat who tells Twiggs, "Don't worry about the forensics on this.
Right.
We're going to stage this so that you don't have any culpability.
Yep.
We're going to make sure that you are never fingered as the guy who helped set him up.
Yep.
We're never going to let them know that you were the one that let us into the garage, that you, Lance Twiggs, gave us his gun, not him, or whatever."
Yeah.
But you have Robinson there on campus, I think, checking his phone, looking for his partners in.
Because, guys, remember the Brandy and Billy who spoke to the family, Tyler Robinson's family. They do not believe Tyler Robinson did what the state is saying, that he was on the roof, that he did, took the shot, that he's the one, a lone gunman. And we can't believe the person that Brian Enton interviewed, that family member of Lance Twiggs, hadn't seen him in like 10 years, had only met him like 2 or 3 times and was like a distant cousin, and supposedly came out with all this like, breaking news about Tyler and Lance. But no one, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the Brandy and Billy interview. If they spoke to anyone in Lance's family, I think what they said was Lance's family does believe that Lance could have been involved. And if you look at the psychological profile on Lance versus Tyler, it definitely, to me, seems that like Lance would have been more the type to be doing this, and that Tyler was an unwitting person being framed by the feds and possibly by Lance.
Crime to tell him where they will be at the time he's meant to meet them to recollect his gun. And I think this is just my guess. Again, I could be wrong, but it makes sense to me that he thought he was a part of the plan. He gives away the weapon for someone else to use so that he's not tied to the shooting itself.
Yep.
The gun is then, he thinks, going to be used to kill Charlie, and then he's supposed to recollect it. that's where he fails, jumps off the roof because it happens before he's in place. Part of the plan, I think, from the
like I said, I don't agree with this part of it. Tyler wasn't on the roof. The dude on the roof, Eagle Boy, is not Tyler Robinson.
Fed's perspective is tell him to be on the X at the time, but we're going to blow this thing 3 seconds or 2 seconds beforehand so that he's left in a lurch, running around. That gives us an authentic looking picture for the cameras to immediately capture and give to the news. Because it wasn't for minutes that the cameras were scrubbed. They had the footage pulled. They had his photo. They had even analyzed and enhanced and put on the news.
I agree. Like they knew exactly where to look, what what camera to pull from. They had it ready to go, which is just doesn't make sense if this is all like them figuring it out after the fact. It's not Tyler on that roof.
So I'm thinking they must have known exactly where to look in that stairwell to find exactly him and post a picture. Again, I'm running out the idea that if he's on campus and he doesn't have his gun, like he doesn't in that photo.
He doesn't, yeah.
Then I have to assume he's there because someone else has it.
Yeah.
And it is nearby. And he was told, you're going to grab it from us and then take it so that if we get caught, we don't have a gun on us. And if you get caught, you don't have gun residue on you. You have a weapon, but no murder. We're the murderer without a weapon. So like they're trying to Ocean's 11 this thing, he thinks. They're just setting him up to make sure he cannot get out of the snare. He's on the roof with his rifle bag. It looks like he's got something with him. It's good enough for a grainy picture to be released to incriminate him without ever having a picture of him holding it up like this.
Correct.
If they got him on the roof, they've got him doing this.
Well, you would think so, but the person on the roof doesn't have a rifle. And the charging documents itself don't even say that the video captured the person taking the shot. It says they captured the individual walking up over the railing onto the roof, disappears behind that building for like 8 minutes, supposedly changes clothes, then like runs and then low crawls out to the position. And then it starts back up again. And it says immediately following the shot, you see the person, we have the person on video running and jumping off the roof. It doesn't actually say that they have footage of whoever that is, Eagle Boy, taking the shot. Why wouldn't that be included in the documents? That's like the most important part.
But they don't have him doing that because he didn't have the gun.
Agreed.
He's looking around like, where's the guy with my gun? And then he bolts. And then the fake messages are released to incriminate him. The real ones, I bet, are to his asset who's in the wind, who's put the gun from the FBI's possession under the bushes where the FBI can go, oh, hey, look, I just tripped over something. Oh, it's the gun we were looking for.
But I don't agree with that either, because you have to look at the charging documents and to know that immediately after them, looking at the the security cameras, seeing that he jumped off the roof, ran that way, crossed the street in that direction to that wooded area. They start searching that area. You have the first local police search the area. They find nothing. Then, and Daisy did great work today because Gary tried to discredit and debunk that the bomb sniffing dogs could even find, or that they were even trained to find weapons, gunpowder residue. Oh, well, it turns out, all of the canines in those local departments in that county area were all called and sent to UVU. Okay. And that these dogs, specifically these bomb dogs, are also trained to find weapons and anything with gunpowder, ammunition, specifically trained to do that. So yes, then the bomb dogs come, they search that wooded area and find nothing. And if that rifle had been used in the commission of this crime and it was recently fired within the last, 6, 7, 8 hours, those bomb dogs would have got out the car, gone right over and said, bam, thank you. Where's my toy? Because they get a toy afterwards. Good job, Skipper. Get back in the car. Yeah, no, they search and find nothing. Then, because FBI isn't on scene yet, FBI shows up, walking tall with their jackets. Don't worry, guys. The real cops are here. We'll take care of it. They go over, search the area, find nothing. Then they approach these two local cops that are, between the two of them, less than a year put together on the force, rookies. And they go, hey, guys, we want to be thorough. We did it. The bomb dogs did it. Your department did it initially. Can you guys just do one last check? Can you guys just go sweep the whole area, see if you guys find anything, and then we'll call it a quits if we don't find anything? What do you know? The fourth time's the charm. They found the rifle then. Yeah. So no, I don't think some other person in this, conspiracy, whether that be one of the people like Tyler or Lance or whoever dropped the rifle over there. It seems that, in my opinion, that the feds did that.
All right.
Because it's the same gun they picked up a week before from his house that he never had that day.
All right. No, I'm with you. But here's my question.
I mean, wouldn't he have noticed if they picked up the rifle a week prior? I mean, unless he willingly gave them the rifle the week prior in preparation for this. And that was one of the parts he played, was to allow them to use the gun, his grandfather's gun, in the commission of this crime. But yeah, I also don't think that it was like one of the, players that were there that day, that were on the Discord, that was part of the people talking to Tyler ahead of time that planted it. It seems that some agent, one of the federal agents that might have been communicating with him on the Discord chat, whoever that was, whoever had access to the rifle, planted it in the woods near the chicken coop after the bomb sniffing dogs swept, and after they swept it, before the fourth sweep of the local police department finding it.
And when the sound pops off, if your theory is even mostly right, and that is Tyler Robinson, the granny footage is actually indeed Tyler Robinson on the roof.
It's not
running off with an empty rifle bag. When he realizes a shot goes off and he's running off the roof because things are not going as he originally thought that they were supposed to go, what was the sound that he heard? What was it that actually hit Charlie? What's your theory?
I think the thing that makes the most sense to me is that they rigged his mic pack.
Why so many people are knocking down that theory? People like Gary and from Paramount Tactical, these people are saying that's absolutely ludicrous.
No, Gary's.
Do you think he's honest?
No,
I don't.
No,
I've gotten 0 government grants to talk about my opinion on this. How many have you gotten?
Right.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yep.
So I would not be pointing the finger at government clandestine operators covering up the scene the next day so that no one can find explosive shrapnel residue, pieces of the mic, etc.
Yep.
I would never point my finger at that if I'm Gary. But if you're an independent person who has no chains on them and can speak freely like that, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think the mic pack was rigged, and I think we're meant to think it's stupid to look at that as even an option.
Right.
When not even a year ago, right? I hope it was within a year. Israel just grandstanded about how they were able
bragging about it.
Yep.
We can blow up pagers that you bought a decade ago. We can have reverse engineer. I mean, I don't know the exact details, and I'm being hyperbolic a bit for to drive a point. But I mean, maybe exaggerating to say it was a decade ago that they planned the op against Hezbollah. But
no, they did. John Bray said that they had those pagers had gone through like bomb sniffing dogs. They had gone through many checkpoints. They were in circulation and in use for the last 10 years before they were detonated.
How long it was that Israel decided we're going to plant explosives in these pagers and then rig them to blow. And you remember the story?
Yeah.
They gave a pager to Trump because it was such a big deal that they were able to pull off this bleeding edge technology that they can kill people without ever having to pull a trigger, they said. So that's what I think they did. And I think it's really obvious when Israel's the first to jump out and say, praying for Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Bibi Netanyahu himself is like the first of all world leaders, including our own, to even post.
And then there's a part where he talks about the family. Hold on, let me find it.
Yeah, we'll make sure that the feds never arrest you for what's on your computer, but you work for us now. Or let's be really generous. Let's say he's a guy who they know from the area. He's got a past of making.
Oh, they're talking about
that he's going to agree to do it.
They were talking about George Zinn.
Yeah. And again, just so that you know, like I live in Michigan. I grew up in Michigan. I was still following very, very closely at all the conspiracy theorists during COVID and during the lockdowns. And if you're not familiar, here in my state in Michigan, the governor Whitmer, just before the election in 2020, staged her own fake kidnapping hoax. Are you familiar with this?
What Whitmer? Wittmer.
Whitmer. Whitmer. She looks like this.
Huh?
Crazy lady.
I heard something like that, so it has to be your governor.
Yeah. It's Gretchen Whitmer. She in 2020 with the low, and this is
important because listen to the story and then apply it to what we know about, this Charlie Kirk assassination.
I thought you'd find this interesting because I was listening to your other videos and you're talking about how in I guess it's the not Provo field office, but it's the FBI field office in Utah.
Yeah.
They replaced the director week before this happened.
Yes.
Dude, so get this. I think every single FBI field office director is themselves a miniature capo. Like they're a mafioso. They're not the king boss, but they're like a kingpin of their region. Yes. They run the psyops in their region.
Yep.
I've got a whole thing I could show you in a file I've kept on this since then. The gist of this, in 2020, Whitmer wanted her state troopers, the Michigan State detectives, the local ATF, the local FBI offices run out of Detroit to infiltrate the domestic militias that were planning protests at the Capitol and that were having different parades to essentially free themselves from lockdowns. So you could pick a Saturday and say, everyone's going to meet at the Capitol and stage the protest in March and in April to force the state to reopen during COVID.
Right.
She wanted to infiltrate those groups that were planning that. Yep. So the short story of this is she had a group of 14 people who were meeting as part of this new militia that they had created. 12 of the 14, Didi, were feds.
Yep.
Between the ATF, the FBI, and other NSA or other informant groups. Yeah. Right? This is the official reporting. 12 of the 14 were feds or informants.
Yep.
The only 2 dudes who are right now in prison thought they were a part of some grand plan, didn't know that they were going to kidnap the governor.
Nope.
As claimed. But these were 2 dudes who were told, hey, on your way to the meeting this week, essentially like a gun club meeting. By the way, these guys have mental disabilities, so it's not really fair to pick on them. But imagine I do this. Your slower younger brother is coming to the meeting with you, and I text him prior to, hey, take a picture of that bridge, that overpass at 44th Street when you go under it. Take a picture of it. It looks like it was rusting underneath. We should check and see if it's stable. And your slower younger brother goes, all right, Tommy, no problem. Got the picture for you. And and you get to the meeting and you show it to me on your phone. I go, send that to me, would you please? I then make it a part of my case as the informant. You don't know I'm a real fed. You took a photo of a bridge and we were planning to blow it up. You took a preemptive photo of a target. That's what they accuse these guys of in Michigan.
Nuts.
So here in my state, we know the government is not above lying to the media, telling them this man over here took a photo of the bridge, planned to blow us up, tried to reroute traffic in order to make the governor a sitting duck so that they could kidnap her and kill her. And 12 of the 14 people within that conversation were feds. The 2 who didn't say anything incriminating are the ones in prison.
Yep.
That is what I'm working with in the back of my mind when I think of the Discord server with Tyler Robinson being the one patsy. And we're told how many people were in the group. How many of them were
I don't know, but what you just said reminds me of Owen Schroyer.
Yep. J6.
You know who that is?
Yep.
Yeah, I've met Owen.
Yeah, because he was, in short, there were people out there that did not go to jail, and then there were people out there for January 6th that did.
Yep.
And so anyways, it was said that there were actually feds or police that was
Owen went to prison.
Yep.
Right? I don't know. I think Owen went to jail. Owen served jail time.
That's what I'm saying. How you said
but Nick Fuentes
2 people actually went to jail. Owen was one of those people. Nick Fuentes was not.
Right.
Yeah. And so that tells you something, doesn't it? It's the dog that doesn't bark. It's
it's the dog that doesn't bark. Nick Fuentes has been accused of being a fed. I just find it interesting that he was out there. Yep. One could argue.
We don't know. So maybe he's with his boyfriend and they're texting back and forth to give him an alibi because he knows he's about to get caught and he doesn't want his Twig's boyfriend to go down with him.
Yep.
So they stage fake Discord. Who knows? But my assumption or suspicion is his dad reaches out when he finally is in his parents' home. When he finally gets back home, he says, I had to ditch the gun. So he doesn't have the gun. He's now driving back home 3 hours. He gets to his parents' house. And they now
This part is very, very interesting. Listen up.
know he's a part of something. He's fearful. The FBI is going to track him to his parents' house, kick in the doors and windows, flashbang them. And, he's going to catch a bullet because, and this is assuming a lot, but one of the ground balls I'm running out here is assuming I'm correct. Then I have to put myself in the mind of Robinson, and he knows he's just been set up for something far worse than he actually agreed to do. The news is showing his photo. They're saying Charlie Kirk was shot and that he did it. And he's going, OF. The people I planned this with weren't the people I thought they were. And here's how I know it, because otherwise they wouldn't be saying all of this. Like, how did I get to be the fingered guy? I'm the bag man. And he tells his mom and dad, they already know who I am with the gun that I gave away last week or don't have on me.
Yep.
Right. In any case, it's suspicious he wasn't able to put it back in his little rifle bag as he's running away. He didn't have it.
No.
So it was somewhere when the shot was fired and it wasn't in his hands. So how do they find it in the bushes a little while later? Because it was planted. He knows this. He's thinking with his mom and dad going,
but he can't say too much because that was still incriminating. He know he wasn't the person to shoot Charlie.
All right. So what they're laying out here, you guys, and it makes so much sense why we heard conflicting stories about the process of them getting in touch with Tyler, or Tyler being in touch with the parents, or the parents reaching out to the LDS member, then getting Tyler, then them getting him to agree to come to their house. Why didn't the parents and the local LDS former police officer trust the FBI? The FBI was leading the manhunt and investigation at this time. They don't reach out to the FBI. They reach out to local law enforcement for the turnover. And it is so compelling to think and to hear this out. So please, I hope you guys are still here. Please listen to this.
But it would still incriminate him in some regard.
I think he tells his parents everything. I think he's sitting right there going, I'm just going to kill myself. I gave them the gun. I don't even have it, Dad. I can't show it to you. I don't have it. Where is it? What do you mean you don't have it? I can imagine what Dad sounds like when you gave his dad's gun away and now he thinks it's a murder weapon. Oh, boy, you better. I mean, I don't know how Black Dad acts, but White Dad's going to come unglued at that. Because he cares about the gun more than the car. So it's like, what did you do? And I was being a joker there. But so I think he calls his kid and says, where's the gun? And I think that's where he has this break moment of, he tells his parents, I'm guilty of what I believe he is, which is like, Mom, I was pissed. That's why I told you that it was a bad venue for him to choose, because these people were going to plan to kill him. They didn't have a gun. They asked for one. I was stupid. I told them I did. And at this point, his parents are like, okay, we believe you. I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but for my theory to at least have some narration, I'm explaining how I think it went down.
I agree.
Right.
I think he then tells them, there's no way to fight it. They're going to railroad me. What do I do? The whole news thinks I did it. Everyone thinks I did it. They have my gun. Yep. If they weren't who I thought they were, then maybe they were feds. And if they were feds, then they set me up and they're going to come and kill me. And what did we hear the sheriff say? Because the sheriff who just resigned.
Oh, you're talking about when he got the phone call about.
He went to the podium after the arrest.
Yep.
And it wasn't a part of his written statement.
Yep.
Right. It was off the cuff. One of the reporters asked, what exactly was the sequence of events that led to him turning himself over? How is it that the sheriff's department came to be in possession of him with, having custody of the suspect?
Yep.
When they're not leading the manhunt locally, and it's a retired law enforcement officer who gets the call. Yeah. It's plainclothes detectives who took him in.
Yep.
And it's not on video.
Nope.
So how did that happen? Because if you're the parents, Dee, pretend you know nothing about the case. Okay. A guy is wanted in a manhunt. We now have him by name, and his parents are withholding him from the FBI. What do you call that? They didn't call the FBI immediately and go, oh my God, we think our son did it.
They'll try to make them an accomplice.
My point is, what their actions show is that the parents didn't trust the FBI to call the FBI.
Correct.
Because they didn't. They called a local retired friend of the family. Yep. It's like if your friend was Liam Neeson from Taken and you knew your daughter was taken, you don't call the feds because the feds are maybe working with the traffickers. You call your friend who's going to go, I have a series of, and so my point is they don't have to the parents don't have to come out and tell the news, our son confessed to us that he was part of a conspiracy, but they're railroading him, so we didn't trust the feds. We didn't trust the state police. Dude, if my parents thought I killed someone, they wouldn't answer the door. They would call the police and tell them I was outside. Come get him. Our son, we think, killed someone. If he didn't, it'll come out in the wash, right? Like something happened here at this house where he's visiting with his parents. He confesses to them something, right? The sheriff told the news he confessed to his parents or insinuated guilt, which means he felt sick to his stomach. They have him dead to rights on something. They have his gun.
Yeah.
They've got him. He says he's going to kill himself. His parents beg him not to. They say, we're going to stand by you and fight this. If you really didn't do it and you really are being railroaded, we're going to help you.
Yep.
And now you have the entire family sitting in the defense behind him at every court appearance.
Yep.
The bullet doesn't match the gun. The gun itself was not fired. We're going to find
the bullet is inconclusive. The fragments are inconclusive. We don't know if it matches.
No, we know that it had not matched when they tried it. I will agree with you that in the future they may develop a new test that proves that fragment came from that gun.
This is an interesting take on the reading of the ATF report and the court filings that we've all looked at. It's important to hear what he has to say.
But right now, with all testing they do have, they can't make it happen.
They can't match.
So it's like if I have a puzzle that's missing one piece and you pull a piece out of your pocket, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't necessarily fit somewhere else in the puzzle.
Correct.
It ain't fitting.
Yeah, and it's just the language that they use when they can't find a match. When they can't find a match, they don't say it doesn't match. They just say inconclusive. That's just the language they use.
Either it's a match or it is a not match.
Correct.
And the semantics of saying, well, it didn't match, but it still may be, is like saying the DNA didn't match, but it still could be you.
Right.
Because the science might come out later that it's wrong.
Right.
Well, I believe they're saying it's inconclusive because of
read. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good. Go ahead.
The actual report written by the ATF says it is a conclusory report.
Yep.
Forensics and ballistics, they have conclusive reports.
Yep.
The bullet did not match. They're saying, no, it's an inconclusive match because, again, the reader hears that in their mind and goes, well, then it could still possibly be. Like it's a question mark instead of an exclamation point.
Right.
My question for you is, put aside the fragment, because sometimes they match and sometimes they may not appear to match when they still could be. I'm not saying it's exclusive. You're right. It still could be, but it's also not accurate to think like it's still a possibility 50-50. It doesn't suggest that. It suggests it isn't.
Correct.
Okay.
My thought is this. If it is a bullet and it's fired from a gun and it fragmented when it went in.
Yep. Where
are the other fragments?
100%.
Yeah, same question I had.
If there's no exit wound and the entire bullet went into Charlie's neck and that it fragmented once it got in there and bounced around on, pieces of bone, right? Because flesh isn't going to make it fragment. Where is the remaining pieces of the bullet jacket? How come the autopsy? Well, and I guess we don't know. All we know is what they've released to us. But you would think that if they found more pieces of the bullet jacket fragment, it would have said that in the portion of the autopsy where it's talking about the bullet jacket fragment. You would think. So where's the rest of it?
They call it a fragment because they want you to think, well, it's unidentifiable. It's in pieces. Because that gives them the out for having to explain what it really is.
I think so.
Which isn't a bullet.
No, it's not a bullet at all. It's a projectile. Right. And if I called it a small metal projectile, people would then have it in their mind's eye that like maybe it's not a gun that fired it.
Right. Right.
Because, the movie Swordfish, where there's a ball bearing bomb. It's like a cool kind of slow motion.
And this is the part where he kind of he loses me. He starts to say that he believes I think he says he believes that the road mic had multiple like BBs, like small pieces of metal in it, and that when it went off, they all went into Charlie, and that a piece either caught him on the outside and went in, or a piece came out from within. I don't really agree with that. I much more fall in line with John Bray on what he thinks entered Charlie's neck. I'll play that and then we're going to move on.
Scene where the bomb blows and you see ball bearings go like slow in all kinds of directions in the middle of this big bank with a bunch of glass walls. Very cool. 20-year-old movie. And I thought of that when I see this mic pack explosion, where I'm like, how many ball bearings could you maybe put in like a little tiny pack, like a little cluster pack, like right next to a battery? How many little balls of explosive, little powdering could you put in there and put it against like an insulated pack so that when you strap it up to somebody, it doesn't blow out, but it only blows in. And so there's a really simple mechanization that you have with a two-staged explosive. The first stage creates a cavitation, and the second one creates the propulsion and ejects a projectile. What I think happened is he got his whole abdomen riddled with microscopic little BBs to just put through everything in him. And one of them got right into his bloodstream, right through, and a soft part of the tissue in the neck and comes out.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that. But that's okay. So we're going to move on. If you guys are aware, why isn't it? Oh, they moved it. They updated it. So now I do it right there. All right. All right. The button to share this instead of that, they moved it. Okay. We're going to listen to Joe Rogan and Theo Von. They discuss the Charlie Kirk case.
Bullet that killed that guy of Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry. And I didn't mean to say that guy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't.
Let me clarify that, I think. And we'll find out if this is correct. But I see headlines and I see the way people are talking about it. And I don't know if it's accurate.
Yeah.
Because what I think is accurate is what they're saying is that from the fragments of the bullet, they were unable to determine that it came from that Mauser rifle.
I see.
Correct. The one fragment that they speak of, the bullet jacket fragment, was inconclusively matched to the Mauser.
My issue with it, and I'm no expert, but I have shot things. Like I'm a hunter. I've shot things with rifles. I've shot a lot of rifles.
Mm-hmm.
A 30-06 is a big round.
Yep.
That's a big round. Show me an image.
Would it hurt if it hit you?
Oh,
experts
bad, huh?
debunked Tyler Robinson's ballistic claim.
you'd be done.
Unable to identify is not the same as ruled out, which is
Correct.
exactly what I'm saying. Right. So show me an image of a 30-06 round, 30-06 rifle round. I want you to look at this. Look at the size of that fucker. Okay. Look at a 30-06 versus a 308.
That's a fucking paperweight.
A 30-06 it's a big round. You see it in that guy's hand?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's 30-06. So this is
That's a fat little hand though.
This
Too.
is
Look at
my
that
point.
thing.
That's like my hand.
This
This is the point, is that's a big round. That's not a small round. I mean, I don't know. What isn't it compared to? I use a 300 Win Mag.
Look at that on the right there. You just had it. Those cartridges.
5.56. Yeah. Is meant for war. 30-06 is meant for hunting. No, I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, that doesn't look realistic.
That's what a 30-06 looks like. Okay.
30-06
In comparison to a
bigger.
quarter. So you look at it. So a quarter is about that high. It's about that big. That's a big round, dude. That's a round for hunting like elk.
Big game.
Like it's a very common round. Well, see, you do me a favor and compare 30-06 to 300 Win Mag
It's bigger.
compared to 300 Win Mag.
I'm just scared, dude.
30-06.
So 300 Win Mag, I think, is fatter.
Mhm.
Let's see the difference.
Mm.
Okay. There it is. 300 Win Mag on the left. Oh, 30-06 is bigger.
Oh,
Yep.
look.
Okay.
Little
Is that
couple.
real?
Yep.
Which one's which, though? Show me that one far left. Far left? Right there. Okay, 300 Win Mag and 30-odd. So 300 Win Mag has a little bit more powder in it. See how it goes higher up? So it has more charge. It's a bigger round. But my point is, that's a big round. So like 300 Win Mag's a big round.
Yeah.
30-06
Powder.
is slightly smaller, but it's still, that's a lot
height.
of powder in that bad boy. That's a lot of firepower. So this is what a lot of people have an issue with, is the wound that there was no exit wound.
Right.
It shot him in like the soft tissue of the neck.
If it killed you,
It didn't go out.
Would you feel pain?
No, you'd be out, done. I mean, if it hit you in the neck where it hit Charlie Kirk, but he didn't get shot with the 30-06 because what it would have done, I don't mean to be graphic, but it clearly would have almost decapitated him. You guys, the neck is a small piece of the body. A big portion of it is hollow. It has your esophagus, your windpipe, right? And then it has these two pieces of meat and flesh and stuff on the sides, and then you have your spine in the back. If you go look at the video of what happened to JFK, and if you believe the alternative theory is that the kill shot came from the grassy knoll, right? Because you see JFK's movement is back to the left and it blows out the back of his brain. The exit wound is like 4, 5, 6, 7 times larger than the entry wound in the front. What we see is not a 30-06 wound. It's not an entry or an exit. If Charlie would have been shot in the neck with a 30-06 round, it would have done so much damage. Even John Bray said this, and he wasn't trying to be graphic, and neither am I. We would have seen such a even more grotesque scene that day.
I mean, it looked like he was dead almost instantly. It looked like he slumped over. I think he was at the very least unconscious.
Yeah.
But it would have left his body, you're saying?
Oh, yeah.
I think it would have blown a hole out the back.
Yep.
That's the thing.
Yep.
It's like 9mm do that sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It seems weird that it doesn't have an exit hole.
Yeah.
It seems weird that you're shooting him in the neck, and the image from the back. There's a video of him getting shot from the back. It doesn't leave an exit hole.
Nope.
So it doesn't look like it's that round.
Correct.
There's also the fact that this guy supposedly climbed on the roof with it
No
and then
weapon.
assembled it, which doesn't make sense.
Nope.
Because if you assemble it, that means you have to take the scope off, put the scope back on. You have to zero the rifle after you do stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, the guy who had killed or allegedly killed Osama bin Laden. Who's that? Mike? Mike? Who's the?
I know who you're
Yeah.
talking about. The Navy SEAL.
Yep, he was just talking about that. I only say allegedly because I don't know anything about that. I don't know the specifics, even though I read the freaking book he wrote. But yeah, he was saying that to be able to do all that and get off of that roof, it all seems bizarre.
Not only that, they supposedly disconnected the rifle again,
Yeah.
took it apart on the roof,
Yeah.
put it in his backpack, jumped off with it,
No.
and then reassembled it and left it in the woods.
Yeah.
And allegedly was at a Dairy Queen. Do you see that? Who
Yes.
could shoot someone and go to Dairy Queen?
It seems weird. And then
Yeah.
also his family's denying that he confessed.
Yeah.
Correct.
They were saying that no, he didn't confess.
And we haven't heard.
His family said 2% of what they're saying about this is correct.
Have you reached
No.
out to them, or have they reached out to you?
No, well, I don't think they can. I mean,
Dang, that's crazy. Joe Rogan just repeated something that Brandy and Billy reported on. How crazy is that? Something, because Brandy and Billy are the two girls that were at the courthouse that day. They're the ones that spoke with Tyler Robinson's family, who told Brandy and Billy this, and Brandy and Billy told all of us that the parents, the family of Tyler Robinson, are saying only 2% of what the mainstream media and what the public is being told, like 2% is factual and truth. 98% is BS. And it's crazy. But Joe Rogan just repeated something that, two young ladies in Utah reported on. That's pretty cool.
they're probably terrified about their son's future in life. Like
Yeah.
they're trying to pin this crime on him.
Yeah.
Who knows if he did it or didn't do it? I'm not saying he did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. But I am saying that the story of
Doesn't
him
make sense.
climbing up there with a disassembled gun, assembling it, making that shot, disassembling it again, climbing down. If that's the narrative, that sounds like straight horse shit.
It is.
And the video of him hopping down does not look like he's a rifle when he's
doesn't.
hopping down. So what's happening? How did he get up there? How did no one see it? There's so many things that are fucked up about that story.
Yep.
It doesn't totally make sense. But a big one to me is the actual bullet hole, the actual damage that rifle does. Look, but here's another thing. Guns do weird things sometimes.
They do.
Like bullets do weird things, and sometimes they don't. Maybe it fucking center punched his spinal column, and it did blow apart, and it didn't go out the back. It's possible.
Have they released any information about the autopsy?
I don't know.
No
I mean, you
way.
would think that
I don't know what the specifics are, but I know
Hold
a
on.
lot.
I gotta say what up. What up, Zach? Let's get to this. Zach Costello. Wow, dude, that's a very, very generous super chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to read this. Joe Kent told Tucker Carlson the golden pager from BB in February 2025 was a threat. Interesting. Hezbollah pagers and walkie-talkies in September 2024. Charlie, September 25. Iran war 2026. Necklace behavior. Snap travel. Traveling upwards doesn't happen from a gunshot. 100%, dude. 100%. 100%. Let's see. I'll pull something up. I'm going to hit play. I'm going to show you guys something. Stick around. Okay.
A lot of people are very skeptical, which they are about everything these days, which is also part of the problem.
Well, they have to be skeptical because the news is compromised. The news is owned by, it's not good. And
it's also, there's a lot of disinformation out there. There's a lot of like covering up stories. There's a lot of weird shit.
And yes. And then even other places can put out news that's bad for us. They're like, oh, well, we'll put this out there.
Sure.
Just disguised as information.
Yeah.
But did you see that exploding mic theory? Did you guys talk about that on here?
I've heard that theory, but I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. I've heard people talk about it, but I hadn't looked into it. It looks like he got shot.
No.
I don't know if the microphone's going to hit you in the neck. Like, how do you know where the mic's pointing? You're moving around a lot. How do you know when to make it go
That's
off?
a good point. They had it like on his shirt at a specific spot. But yeah, you're right. How would you know? But then the place where
it sounds like a gunshot, though. And there's a delay.
Yeah, but based on what John Aaron Bray said, and he was able to track the N wave that somebody did fire around that day, he believes that the round was shot intentionally to fly over the crowd so that people that are recording it on their phones would capture that on the audio, which they did. And he said it's captured on like the right side of the phone, then the left side. You can track it where it picks up, then switches to the other, incoming audio speaker on the phones, on the different phones, on the different cameras that are there that day. I'm not aware. I'm not knowledgeable in that, but I don't think John Bray is being dishonest. I think he's credible. And I think when he says he has found this on the audio that he's done, I believe him. I was very skeptical about the trunk of the car, the van underneath the Hall of Flags, and that a bullet was shot through into the trunk. But here's the thing. People's critique of that was that, but there's people walking around. There's people walking around. Yeah. On ground level, all the videos we see are ground level. And I know there's people up in the like balcony area and on the stairs, and it's like an amphitheater, so it starts to go up. However, the person taking the shot would be from a different roof, not the Losi Center roof, some other roof, because the person, little Eagle Boy, wasn't Tyler Robinson, didn't have a rifle at all. He didn't take the shot, okay? He was there for the camera. He was there for the running and the jumping off of the roof. That's it. Whoever took the shot, not the shot that got Charlie, because it wasn't a shot in my opinion, okay? But whoever took the shot so that we could hear a gunshot and so that the N wave could be tracked on the audio phones and the different cameras that were there that day that would pick up the N wave, that bullet, that person would have such a line of sight from the top of a different roof. It didn't matter where people were walking in front of Brian Harpole and Frank Turek and Mentos Mint Lady, and the different camera girls that were walking around that day. The person up on a roof shooting the rifle would have a direct line of sight to the trunk of the car. Unimpeded view. Nothing would obstruct that view. No one walking around. No one walked back to the van. These individuals are not walking right in front of the tailgate. They are 15 to 20 feet in front of the van in the grass. The van is back underneath the Hall of Flags. It is set back far enough that completely, even with everyone else doing what they were doing that day, Brian Harpole, Frank Turek, and like I said, the camera lady and the Mentos lady, wouldn't have obstructed that view from the shooting location up on a different roof. Now, let me show you guys this. Hopefully Zach's still here. I want him to see this. Let me hit share. Okay, let me make sure. Cool. I'll make it big. All right, let's watch this. Let me make sure no audio. All right. It's going to go slow at first. Well, let me get to the point here. And he sets it down right here. Closes his eyes. He blinks. It just looks like he closes his eyes, but it's coming. Hold on. There. Look at that. Look at that. This is not a gunshot, you guys. This is not a gunshot. Look at the the deformation of his flesh, of his neck. Look at the wrinkles. Look at the hair being blown up. Okay. Look at his cheek. Look at what is happening to his shirt. It's tugging. See the lines? It's all tugging back this way. Okay. The necklace is right here, shooting out. It's about to pop all the way out. There it is. It snapped. The pressure was so great. It snapped and is flying up over his head, but it stays attached to inside of the left collar part of his shirt. Look at how it jolted him back, and then his body absorbs this blast. And what John says is that he thinks he was immediately just from the blast alone knocked him unconscious and probably killed him immediately. That his heart was not beating, and that when the projectile, what John Bray said was the battery from the road mic penetrated the neck after the shirt comes down, and you can see the wound, but you don't see the blood for a second or two. And then you start to see the blood come out. It is the deoxygenated blood, I think, that's pouring out from the brain. That's why it's thick. That's why it pools out like that. Why we don't see high velocity blood splatter like you would see from a high velocity round hitting the neck. And when you start to see you have a delay. You see the wound, and then you don't see anything come out. And then you do see something come out, and it's it's an object, a man-created object that precedes the blood, and then the blood pours out. Nothing like a bullet wound. And even just how his body is getting jolted up out of his seat and back. This is not a gunshot wound. I just want to make sure I can't show more than that. Right? Let me go to the next one. Wait. I don't know if I can show the next one. Let's see. And this shows different settings that he had it on. I haven't played these in a minute, so I can't remember which some of these show everything or show. Oop, nope, can't show that one. That's the front. That's the front too. Nope. Oh, all right. I'm not going to go through this. I just wanted to share that one with you where you can see the complete crazy behavior of the shirt and Charlie, which is definitely not from a bullet wound, right? And all of that behavior in the shirt and the necklace, all of that happens before you see the wound, right? I think I can share that. I can show this actually. Let me show this. Let me go here. No. That's the shirt behavior. Where is it? Right here. Look at that. This all happens, and this shirt pulling up here before we see the wound. Okay. The wound doesn't even appear until after this object recedes and the shirt comes down. It's just, it's insane to not realize that this is not, we're not witnessing a gunshot. Okay. Look at how far that pulls up on him. This is not a gunshot. This is not from a high velocity round. It's just not. All right. Let me go back to Joe. Let me make sure I'm sharing it. All right. Well, actually, before I go to Joe, let me read this. What up, Pop? All right. Wow. The Black Line Brief family is growing. Tonight we have or had over 500 viewing. You could call it the 500 Club. Go, Matt, go. Thanks, Pop. You're awesome. Love you. Angela Chung, USA. Matt, my theory is he was shot in front of him and the bullet hit his cross from his necklace. Broke it, and the bullet bounced off the cross up into the neck. It's all over X. Yeah. That's okay, right? Like we all are, it is our best guess on what we think happened, what we think we're seeing. Yeah, and that's okay. Everyone is allowed to be at a different, and I've said this and I'll say this time and time again, we all don't have to agree about every little thing. However, I think it's very suspicious that like certain people on the other side are so adamant that it was Tyler Robinson from the Losi Center, lone gunman, 30-06, one bullet, one shot, and everything they see that day is easily explained by the official narrative. That I can't. I just can't. And anyone saying that, I can't. That's the same as saying Charlie Kirk's alive. I can't. And anyone saying that stuff, you are not trustworthy. You're just not. Get out of here with that. Okay. But aside from that, yes, we are totally allowed, because all of us are, it's our best guess of what we think we're seeing that day. And for me and everything I've looked at, I don't think it was a bullet that hit his cross and bounced up and hit his neck. I don't think a round hit him at all that day, based on what. And John, I don't know if you were here that day, Angela. I would recommend going back and watch the John Aaron Bray episode with me. He did extensive and continues to do extensive research, and has brought to us, and you can actually see, I just don't want to mess with YouTube. You can actually see that in parts of the circuit board, which is a certain color blue from the Rode mic, which in other devices are green, but in this one it's blue, and you can see it. It's exposed in the part of the shirt that's pulling up, and right before it comes down, you can see it, and you can see the parts of the circuitry on that piece of equipment and technology, and you see as it comes down, and then that's when you see the wound, right? And that the size of the wound matches the size of what was the battery inside of that device. Because here's the other thing. If you're saying that the bullet bounced off of the shirt and then hit him in the neck, why did we not see any kind of physical behavior that you see with a round, right? With a bullet? Why was the round? Why did something clog the wound? The wound appeared when the shirt came down, but nothing came out of the wound for at least a second or two. Nothing. It just was wound, no blood. Okay. And then as like the blood that's draining from his brain is pushing up against the back of that on the inside of his neck until eventually the pressure is enough and it pushes it out. And then you see this object precede the blood as the blood comes out. You can see it. It's a man-made physical object. It's a piece of shrapnel, or it's a piece of the battery. That's my opinion. But everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. Thank you, Mystic. God bless your beloved, precious soul, Charlie. You are so missed, and we can't stop, won't stop until we know all of who did this to you and took you from us. 100%. 100%. And I've said this time and time again, people that, and Zach is such a good example of this, that even when he's gone on and debated and spoken with individuals that are on the other side, he's never once gloated. He's never once said, I won. Because you know what? We all freaking lost that day. We're all losers. We all lost such an amazing and important soul, a Christian, godly man who I think just genuinely was an honest person that wanted the best for America and the best for Americans. Truly was America first, truly was God first. And we all lost him that day. So all of us are losers. So nobody's winning anything. Even if you do well in a debate, nobody's winning. All right, let's get back to Joe. I'm so glad Joe, with his the size of his platform, the influence that he has, is not afraid, and he's speaking up now. However, there's going to be some corrections I need to make because he's not as informed on this as most of us in this space and in this community.
Delay between the gunshot and the impact in terms of like acoustic readings, like, and I think somebody did an analysis of the distance they believe the shot was taken from based on the sound. You know, if that is the round that they use, 30-06, based on the sound of the gunshot going off and the amount of time before it impacts them. It's a very small amount of time, but it is measurable. And they think that it might have actually been closer than what they're saying, which is, I think, 100 and something yards. I forget what the exact distance was. What was the exact?
And I think it was 130 something yards, or 130 something feet. I think it's yards. I think he's referencing Chris Mortensen's research on the trajectory, the possible shooting location of the actual possible shooter. And I think Chris, believes that an actual shot, a bullet hit Charlie. I didn't follow. Zach would be able to speak to that so much more. He followed, like when in the beginning, Zach was following Chris Mortensen's work. I was following like John Bray's and stuff. And we've kind of met in the middle on different our different process in this.
Distance, supposedly. I think it was like 140 yards or something like that.
I think it's 134.
But the weird thing is, like, this whole idea of assembling and disassembling, it doesn't work like that, man.
And if the guy's not a professional, was he a professional?
No, he definitely wasn't a professional. But I'm like, you could get trained, like shooting a rifle at 140 yards with a really good scope. If you've shot a bunch of times with a rifle and you can keep your shit together, is not that far of a shot. You can make that shot. People can make that shot. He wasn't even wearing a bulletproof vest, even though he did obviously get hit in the neck. But the thing is, like, if that's the narrative, and I don't know if they're still sticking with the story, but that was what they were saying at first, that he disassembled it and reassembled it. Reassembling a gun does not make it accurate. You have to zero a rifle in. And what that involves you get to like whatever the yardage are that you're trying it out, like 100 yards, and you squeeze off a trigger, and then you look through the binoculars, or you have a spotter with a scope next to you, and he says 6 inches high right, and so then you adjust it, adjust the scope, and then you get it where it's firing, and you do it on a rest. It takes a few shots, man. So you have a rest so that you're not moving the rifle around where it can be human error can be attributed to the miss.
And if you're on a hot roof, that was a hot roof, wasn't it?
Most official and media accounts put the shot at roughly 200 yards, with some investigative timelines suggesting a range of about 150 to 200 yards from Kirk. So somewhere between 150 and 200 yards.
But dude, and also being on a hot roof. Have you ever been on a hot roof?
I have.
Dude, it's hot.
Well, it wasn't that hot. Well, yeah, it was. It was September.
Well, and here's the thing. The Eagle Boy on the roof didn't take the shot. Eagle Boy was wearing long pants and a black long sleeve shirt, which is pretty dumb. If they knew where they were going, he had to know where he was going. He had to Google Maps it and see that it's like a grayish, whitish roof. He's going to stand out like a freaking sore thumb on there. But I mean, whoever was out there, Eagle Boy, didn't take the shot.
September in Utah, actually not that hot.
No, they said it was hot that day. Like Charlie was sweating. People were saying it was hot that day.
It sounds hot.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
They said it was hot.
Because this was happening while I was out elk hunting.
What town did it happen in?
Borum, Provo, up in the north part of Utah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Borum.
It was in Utah, though.
Provo.
I think it was in southern Utah, wasn't it?
No.
Yeah, but Utah's, Utah's a
Valley.
mountain. It's a mountain town. I mean,
my brother lives in Utah. I like Utah.
Like I said, I was in Utah at the time.
Oh, you were?
Happening. Yeah, I was hunting in the mountains.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Joe did it. No.
I don't know nothing. I started getting all these text messages from people wanting me to comment on things. I was like, what are you talking about? I literally didn't know what was going on. But I had to use the Starlink to get online.
Oh, wow.
I got a Starlink. It's like literally,
Starlink.
it's like the size of a fucking iPad and you lay it on the ground, you get high-speed internet. It's incredible.
That's cool shit.
Let me show
Yeah.
you something. Hopefully this doesn't mess with the internet. Every time I go back and forth to different tabs, sometimes when they're internet or web-based searches, it messes with the connection. Hopefully it doesn't. All right. So here is Orem, Provo, Utah. It's North Utah. It's not Southern Utah. Okay. And let's zoom in. This is the identifying marker, is this like weird, salty looking colored lake right here. It's so sad, the Great Salt Lake. Look at how big it used to be. It's all gone now. But this right here is the campus. So it is like northern central Utah is where it happened. Okay. And look at this, right? Here is the roof. Here is the color of the roof. Here are the stairs. And he walks out here, supposedly walks over here for 8 minutes and then runs and then low crawls and then supposedly takes the shot. But the charging documents don't say that. It says that the video captures him coming out to this area. And then the paragraph or it picks back up saying, and we captured him after the shot, running and then jumping off. Right. And this is where he jumps off in this corner. We see him drop and drop something, pick it up, run over here, and then runs across the street as that white car is like waiting for him right here. And then the moment he sees him jump off the roof, that white car speeds over here and then comes here, turns left, and that kid, Eagle Boy, crosses the street. What I'm thinking is that white car comes around and picks him up back in this neighborhood somewhere. And this is where the chicken coop is. It's right in this wooded area and dropped off in here. All right, cool. My internet is still good. We're still good. Let's go.
But that's how I had to like research it, find out what the fuck people are talking about.
But did you see there was like the facility in Tennessee where they bought the whatever the mic thing was allegedly? That
no. And so this is the thing. I love Theo Vaughn. I love Joe Rogan. There's parts of this that they're not well informed on. So Accurate Energetic Solutions is the plant that had a government contract that to create a micro shape charge. Accurate. Let me pull it up. Accurate Energetic Solutions plant. Explosion. Excuse me. All right. Let me share this tab. Hopefully, cool. We're still doing good with the connection. Let me click on one. This is like a before and after, right? This is what it looked like on the left before. Okay. This is what it looked like after. Just completely demolished and decimated and gone. And even all of the cars here in this parking lot are totally gone. In this photo, that parking lot, because here you could see this is where the road is and it bends and comes right here. This parking lot in this photo is like right off of this. It cuts off, but it's like right up here. But it just nothing left. 30 days, right? The time frame is when people started discussing the exploding mic theory. When John Bray started discussing this exploding mic theory. Let's see. I don't know. I haven't pre-watched any of these. I don't want to click on something and have it not be good. Like, I don't want to be dinged. But I'll share this and then we'll get back. But so this plant, right? And someone tried to debunk and say that this, like this company has multiple different plants in Tennessee. Someone tried to say like, oh, this one wasn't the one that dealt with those explosives and the shape charges. No, John Bray said 100% it is. 100% it is. It is the plant. This building is the one that had that contract filled from the department, from the government, like Department of Defense, whoever, it was a military contract. But this is where they filled that. This is where they made the shape charge, and 16 people all lost their lives that day. And we still don't know what happened to the plant manager. Just one more bizarro world thing that happened was the plant manager that worked there at the time when the contract was being filled, when the shape charges were being built and created before. And that was the other thing. On August 25th was when they were done and, got picked up or were delivered. 30 days after that, 30 days after September 10th, I'd have to look at the exact date of the explosion, but it was roughly around like 30 days after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This plant exploded in 16. I think it ended up being 18 people that died. I think 2 people were in the ICU and intensive care for a little bit, but then they eventually succumbed to their injuries and passed away. Like 18 people died. No trace. There's nothing there now because he said the specific type of explosives used, they're made like in a lab, and they are very, very unique. They would have been able to, and this is why they had to pave over the crime scene. They had to get rid of any possible trace evidence of explosives or pieces of the road mic because they would be able to trace back. They would be able to go to that plant and be able to chemically identify the actual the chemical makeup of the explosive is like a fingerprint, and they would be able to match it and be like, yep, this is exactly where that was made. This is the same explosive right here. And they keep it on file. They keep a piece of the explosive material for like 5 to 7 years is what John Bray said. So they would have had stuff left from that contract that you could have gone back and said, let me see that. And it would have been identical to what they found at UVU. All right, let's see. We got Anna TSD. Hi, Iceland here. Welcome. Thank you for the super. First time seeing your content. This is what Joe R said in this episode. But if you check out his interview with Charlie Sheen, he hears about Charlie Kirk getting shot during that interview. That is weird. Yeah, this is a different episode, but yeah, I remember the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Charlie Sheen was being interviewed on the Joe Rogan show. Correct. Yes. Correct. Let me scroll down. All right, let me get back to Joe and Theo.
That place then got completely obliterated.
Yep.
16 people died.
What?
18 total. Yep.
What?
If you can bring that,
Where they made the microphones?
No.
where they made the lapel mic that he was wearing. This is
No, where they made the explosive, the micro shape charge explosive, which would have been put inside the road mic. The road mic is made by Road Mic.
like this is probably a conspiracy thing or something.
Where'd you get this? TikTok?
This is a conspiracy theory or it's something that's absolutely true.
I haven't heard that one at all.
I think James Lee said
But
it.
I'm
This is
trying
James
to
Lee.
stay away from this shit.
I
That's why
agree.
I'm not. That's why I don't know.
I agree. It's just, I think it I don't know. It's just a tough.
So my point about the round is it's a large round,
Yeah.
and it seems like it would have done more damage. And
Correct.
this is not my opinion. This is the opinion of many experts.
Yeah.
I agree with their opinion. It's not uniquely my opinion.
Right.
I saw it and I'm like, oh my God, he got shot. And then I heard it was a 30-06, and I was like,
That's interesting.
it's a little odd.
If you had to get shot by, what would you like to get? If you had to get shot,
You want to get killed, right? You don't want to get.
I don't. Shoot me with a 22.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'd take a 22, but a 22 kills people.
Where would
People
you take
kill
it at?
people. Take it in the shoulder, I guess.
Fuck yeah, dude.
No, you don't want to get shot, period.
I know. I agree, Joe. But I'm just saying, if you had to get shot, how do you like? Because here's
Butt
the thing.
cheek, 22, and tighten up.
Like,
Take it in the butt cheek.
like for
Bang. I don't know.
Ooh.
Not good.
I got
But
No,
there's gonna be a-
no bullet is good to take. But the point is that
he said, I got shot in the buttocks.
that seemed like not enough damage for that kind of round.
100%.
But I might be wrong. Again, I might be wrong in that bullets
It's okay
do
if you're
weird
wrong.
things. If it hit
Yeah, but it didn't hit like a femur or a freaking, one of the more denser bones, right? A thicker, bigger bone in the body. It entered in the neck. And if it hit any bone at all, it hit a piece of the vertebrae, the spine. And that's the other thing. I want to pull up. Let me hit play. I'm going to pull something up. I want to show
Hit
you
the
guys.
spine and it blew apart. But I just feel like you would find a lot of it in there.
Dude,
Especially if there's no exit wound. Like, how come you can't find?
The whole thing's bizarre, dude. Did you see the part, Jamie, that I'm talking about where that thing blew up?
Oh yeah, but I'm trying to find a good explanation. Of
Okay,
the
understood. And there may not be
show,
one. Thank
but,
you. I'm sorry.
I know I brought it up yesterday.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah, just like, I don't know. I think I'm just scared. And it's like, yeah, what do you?
Here it is.
I just don't know
18
that.
people unaccounted for after deadly explosion rocks Tennessee plant. First responders
funny.
rushed to Accurate Energetic Systems. That sounds like a CIA operation.
Mhm.
Yep.
A facility on the line of Humphreys and Hickman counties that processes ammunition and explosives. But is this the place that made the microphones?
So that the conspiracy says that the microphone was taken to this place to be converted into like an explosion.
Somebody found an
Oh.
invoice from it. That's what it was. That was the
Yeah.
piece of information that was going
Who
around.
found that? Is that James Lee found that?
Not sure.
See if you can find what James Lee has to say. He's my number one source of information.
That's what I heard, dude. I got to podcast with him.
Did you?
I got to meet him, dude.
Is he cool?
He's a nice guy, bro. He's fun. Yeah, he's like, his story is wild because he was working as a consultant for one of the big pharmaceutical companies, like one of the big ones that we know, right?
Mhm.
And he just couldn't say the name, but he could say it, but he never said it.
Right.
And then he was in a Zoom one time, and they're like, "Okay, we still have a lot of stockpile from the first vaccination," and that's when he said they started suggesting, allegedly, that people should then get a second vaccination because they had this first. They still had more of the original vaccine, so it was just like a thing. Well, we have more of it.
All right,
Let's sell.
I found it. What I want to show you guys. Let me make sure everything's working good. We're good. All right, let me share this. Okay. All right. So this is the bullet angle, right? Based on where they're saying Tyler Robinson took the shot from. All right. And that it came at this, I think it's like an 8 or 9 degree angle of approach, and it entered in here. However, they're saying that it actually, when it came in, they're saying it boom, shot up here to the C2. Okay. And that it then crashed through the C. So the C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7, then supposedly it fragmented and got lodged in the T1, which is further down from this video, the thoracic. And that doesn't make sense. The bullet's going to come down this degree and not just continue here and through. It's going to come here, shoot all the way up, and then crash through all of these and go down. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense, you guys.
Sell it back to him, and that's why.
And so he started getting like very skeptical.
So he started really getting skeptical, and then he got out of it, and he said he just wants to like expose things that he feels like are not real
right.
or
Think-
true.
You think he might be CIA? Dun dun dun. You got to worry.
I don't know.
You got to wonder.
People thought Sean Ryan was cool.
Yeah, I've heard people say that.
Remember?
Yeah.
That was a thing, but then now people don't.
Doesn't seem like he is.
Yeah.
Unless they're being clever. Dun dun dun.
I just want to be able to have like a family and just like think that everybody's going to be able to live.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about
how is it-
ideologies and tribes. If it wasn't for ideologies and tribes, the idea is that we should all be able to live together. It's like, but the problem is it's not fair the way the world's distributed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
You know the statistic about the 1% of the world. It's $34,000. You make 34,000 US dollars, you are in the 1% of the world.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. It's just tough sometimes
So
to
it's
figure it out. You have to pray. That's what I've been trying to do.
In order for us
You
to
got
get
something.
cheap jeans and an iPhone that only costs
All right. Let me show you guys something. Hold on. Let me share this. Okay, we'll watch Charlie. Oh man. Freaking A. Hold on. Hold on. It's X, man. X and YouTube, I think, hate each other. It's nuts. Anytime I pull it up to share a clip, it doesn't like it. It's nuts. It better not do it this time. All right. Before I get going, can everyone hear me now? Let's see. Thanks. Appreciate it. And I'm sure. Okay, we still got everyone here. We didn't lose anyone. Can you guys all hear me? Can you guys let me know? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Audio sounds good. We should have like one cute or funny Charlie clip each show. Oh, okay. That's a good idea. I like that. Ending on a positive note of Charlie. I like that idea. All right, let's watch this. Okay, let me show you what we're watching.
I'm at this office, Turning Point USA office.
So we met at the office opening, the Turning Point headquarters office opening, the first one, August 2018. And I had no idea what to expect because I was coming into the office from the standpoint of they were potentially going to hire me.
And I knew of Erica. I saw Erica. And we had a very brief meeting at the office. And then I had my first conversation with Erica.
He'll tell it differently. So I'll tell you from my side. I was in the Hamptons. I get a
Why would he tell it differently?
random DM on my phone. I have zero service when I'm out there. And all of a sudden this DM flashes up and it's like, Charlie Kirk DM'd you. Because it's so Charlie. August 31st, 2018. Hey, shoot me a text at, and gave me his number. I didn't respond for a few days.
I Instagram messaged her and said I urgently needed to meet with her. And she said, why?
Why would she not have messaged him for a few days? She wasn't really interested.
And it was partially a job interview and also partially something else.
So when I eventually messaged him back via text, I was like, hey, nice to officially meet you again. What did you want to talk about? Because it was so just random. And he was like, hey, I'm coming into town, into New York City. Let's meet at Bill's Burgers. Mind you, I've lived in Manhattan now for about 5 years. I've never eaten at Bill's.
Yeah, because you'd never be caught dead at like a normal place, like normal Americans eat at. And it's funny, Charlie chose that. That's something Charlie would do, but not you. You've lived there for 5 years, never been there once.
Burgers before. So that I guess was a sign like, let's take an adventure tonight for dinner and go find Bill's Burgers and meet your future husband that you have no idea is about to be your future husband.
And so
I
then
don't believe that
we had
though, right? Because they accidentally almost met 4 times, right? She goes to Philly with her mom, almost meets him. Almost meets him once at the headquarters, then does meet him once. That's the time she referenced here in August. And then she ends up having to sit down with Charlie at Bill's after she's in the Hamptons, by the way. Like that in itself is like, okay, she's not like a normal everyday human being, like is just in the Hamptons, gets a phone call from a text from Charlie and then just flies to meet him.
Great time. And it was about 15 minutes in, I quickly pivoted away from wanting to hire her to wanting to date her. And now we know how that worked quite well.
He got there first only because he was coming back from Fox and he kind of beat me there. And I got out of my taxi and we get our table, we sit down and he orders. The thing that I love though is he was so sweet to the waitress. So that was something that I immediately noticed, that he was like really kind to them.
Which makes me believe that stood out to her, that her previous boyfriends, right, these like total tools, weren't like that. Like how Charlie acted and behaved was different. Like, and he didn't fit the type for her normally.
And we ordered our food, and then that's when the grilling started happening. Like that's when the interview process started happening. So I'm like, okay, this is a legit interview. Like let's go. I'm glad I had my coffee. Like I'm ready to debate you about Aristotle.
Yeah, right. She's not debating Charlie Kirk about anything. Okay. If anything, she's got like an earpiece in her ear, people listening and are feeding her the answers. But then she'll say later, and she said this multiple times when he was like, at the end, hey, I don't want to hire you. I want to date you. And she goes, that's fine. I didn't need the job anyways. I wasn't looking for a job. Then why did you agree to meet with him then? You didn't message him back for days. You kind of ghosted him. And then somehow someone convinced you to go meet with him. You don't need a job. You were happy doing whatever the heck you were doing for the Corcoran group or whatever. It was the Cochrane, I don't know, that real estate company that has ties to Jeffrey. You supposedly were running a business that didn't even exist online yet.
And Socrates, and you want to talk about theology? Let's do it.
Yeah, right.
Well, I've never met anyone quite like her. I remember I called Tyler and I said he's going to have to find talent somewhere else. And whatever opening he thought she would fill, that was not going to work. And Tyler was trying to coach me down because he said that she was way out of my league. He's still right, by the way.
So after we got
right. So Tyler Boyer is friends with Erica prior to all of this. Her and Tyler and possibly Terrell Farnsworth, because Terrell's family and Tyler's family are deeply connected to the LDS church, and, you know, they're elite families within the LDS, you know, church and culture, but that her and Tyler go way back, and that he's the one that got this set up. He's the one that told Charlie to meet with her. He's the one that got her to meet with him, Mr. Matchmaker.
through literally half of the Constitution, going through why I'm living in New York and how I shouldn't be living in New York, and what my 5-year plan is, what success looks like to me, what I studied in college, why, just like every topic you could imagine that is close to Charlie Kirk's heart is what we.
I really wonder what story, what version of her history she told him. We've been given multiple different, you know, where she studied, what she studied, cum laude, not cum laude, like graduated, wasn't at the commencement. Her name isn't there that she was on, you know, at graduation. Did she go to Loyola? Was she at Pepperdine, ASU? What the heck, you know? What did she tell him? And he would have had no basis. And, you know, because Tyler is the point of contact, he's the one that set this up. Tyler's the one that when Charlie has a question about Erica, about her past, he wants to vet her. He's going to go right to Tyler, and Tyler's just going to vet her. Yep, that's her. That's what she did. That's where she was. Yep, good Christian girl. Yep, you're good to go. She's good to go. You don't need to worry about nothing.
We discussed and went through when it was like 3.5 hours, and they were starting to close up, and he was finished with his burger, just sat there, and I'm like looking around, like, okay, did I get the job? Like, what's going on?
She obviously didn't think that because she's not there for the job. Remember, she said she'll say that in a second.
I don't need the job, but did I get it? What's going on? And he goes, you know, I'm not going to hire you. It's like, okay, well, thank goodness I didn't need the job.
Thank goodness I didn't need the job. Then why were you there?
Because I'm already doing stuff here in Manhattan. He goes, I'm going to date you. And I kind of just, I froze. I mean, wouldn't you? I literally I was just like, okay, was not expecting this at all. And he was, I was like, do you want to how about we just be friends first? Like, see where it goes.
And I told her I had enough friends and that I didn't want to be friends with her. So that was kind of a non-starter, but if she wanted to date, that would be great. I had enough friends. And I think she still finds that to be very funny, but I meant it.
And without hesitation and like zero hesitation, he goes, I have enough friends in my life. So either we're going to date or we're not. Do I have any time to think about it? Yeah, you have until tomorrow night when I take you out for dinner. And then you can give me your answer at dinner tomorrow night. But know that the offer's on the table and I want to date you. Okay. So then afterwards, it was like, thank you for this meeting. I need to go walk home now so I can process what happened. And I literally remember walking home from like 54th and 5th all the way to 30th and Madison to just kind of process what just happened. And I remember calling my mom. I was like, hey, she's like, hey, how are you? What's going on? How did it go? And I was like, well, I didn't get the job. She's like, oh, that's okay. I was like, but I got a boyfriend. And she's like, oh.
The first date ended, if I remember correctly, just telling her I needed to see her again very soon, I believe Saturday. And then I guess our second date was a basketball date. And then that was a very fun night, long night. And then I said, hey, do you want to go to Hawaii tomorrow? And because I was going anyway. And she said, sure. And
yeah, there's like 4.5 more minutes left on this. It's on X if you guys want to go see the full clip. Yeah. the part that I wanted to share was the beginning, when the retelling of that initial meeting and who set it up and her reaction, and it's so sad. Honestly, what I see is just like a genuine, authentic, honest Charlie Kirk, you know, and then Erica. That not. Yeah. I don't I can't make sense of, I mean, he naive, I think, in the ways of the world, naive when it came to women, when it came to reading people if they're honest and good people. Extremely busy, like most of his time was dedicated to the mission, his work, his job. He was always on the go. He wouldn't have had time to like really investigate Erica Kirk's history himself. He would have outsourced that to people on the team. Would have outsourced that to Tyler, who knew her all the way back as 2014 and possibly even 2012. Yeah, I definitely think, based on what we know about her past, what we know about who she said she was compared to who she really was, who she says she is compared to like now that Charlie's gone, this version of her, and how different it is from what her and Charlie publicly had said. It's just what she's done with TPUSA, with Philly, with Trump, Iran, how they're trying to force her on us on different things. I don't know if you guys heard before I came on the air. I don't know if it's true or not, but that Trump was rushed to Walter Reed. Is that true? I think my wife was able to look that up, and it was confirmed to be true. Let me see. Let's see, what is the top news? None of these are all like social media. There's no like real, I don't know. Let me see. Have any of you guys seen info on that? Any news on that? Was he rushed? Trump? Yeah, shoving her down American's throat. Yeah. They ran Erica out of Romania. Yep. Yeah, you believe, was Trump rushed to Walter Reed? I mean, I think he was. No, I've been in here the whole time. That's Glenn. Okay. All right. Maybe I can report on that tomorrow. Nothing came up. I believe he was definitely figuring it out. Oh, okay. This is about Charlie, which is why he slept in the baby's room the night before he died, which is also why they say that he was going to change his will, kid benefits. Yeah, but I don't know, that Common Sense show guy has reported a lot of crazy things that, if true, would be, but I haven't seen him produce any kind of proof that what is the basis to which he's saying those things. I did hear that, but I think I know as much as you all. Okay, when it came to Charlie, or not, but early or eat, under tremendous pressure, wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, for Trump, no, that is not true about Walter Reed. Oh, okay, so nothing happened to Trump. No, that is okay. All right. I thought Trump was taken to Walter Reed. All right, we got some conflicting reports. I'll have to look at it and report to you guys later. Let's see. Do we have any more super chats? Any questions, comments you guys want to get in? Let me look at the where is the I think the poll did say like it was unanimous. I forget what the ending percentage was, but that you guys do want a Discord chat for this community. I'll get with the mods and people on getting that set up and letting you guys know when that's off and running. I also YouTube just rolled out a new feature called the community. I activated it, so that's there on the YouTube homepage of the Black Line Brief, where everyone can show up and communicate and chat back and forth. It's there all the time, so that's there as well. I will be going live tomorrow. Stay tuned for the time. Like I said, I don't know. It's Saturday. I don't have my schedule for next week yet, but hopefully I'll be off at a reasonable hour so that I can go live earlier each day next week, because I don't think Baron and Candace are. So that's the goal. That's the dream. If you guys haven't done so already, I know a lot of people are leaving already, but if you haven't, can you please hit the like and hit the subscribe? I'd really appreciate it. Pretty cool. Zach showed up today. I appreciate him a lot. He's a really good person. I think he's a really honorable, honest, trustworthy, credible, Christian, godly man. And I think there's not a lot of those out there in this space. I wish he would have been my first person I had contact with and worked with and, communicated with. I wish it could have saved me some headache and heartache working with and, dealing with other people that ended up not being good people. But if you guys don't know Zach, I'm sure you do. But if you don't, Zach Costello has a great Instagram, a great YouTube channel, and a great X. Follow him on all three. I do. Happy Easter to all of you. Christ is risen. Because he is risen, we all have hope. And hope does not disappoint. Hope in Christ does not disappoint. Christ is King. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Love you guys so much. You guys are the best. And happy Easter. Spend it tomorrow at church with your friends, with your family. Have a good breakfast and brunch. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless you guys. Love you guys. Bye.